So Nam aloha everyone. Thank you for your patience waiting. And good, everybody's written down their name and where they're logging in from. That's great. Okay, where to start here? So today I want to talk about the new moon and also Neptune going into retrograde. These are so Nam aloha everyone. Thank you for your patience. Let me just log off of that echo. I don't know where that's coming from. Oh, I know where it's coming from. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's do this one. Right. Okay. So there's the new moon coming up on June 28th. So that's only in a couple of days, 3 days. It's in the zodiac sign of Cancer. And it's in the gift of restraint and stillness and the shadow of stress. So it comes in two flavors, right? Every shadow, stuck and restless. So what's really interesting with this new moon is also Jupiter is squaring the moon, so that's going to expand this experience of stress. But I want to talk about Neptune first, because Neptune goes retrograde that day, like a couple hours before the new moon. So this means that Neptune creates fog and illusions and delusions. It's also connected to our spirituality. Neptune, the planet Neptune, that archetype of Neptune. You know, and this is a good thing, but we also need to talk about the shadow side of Neptune, and that's addictions, right? And this illusion. It's like we've been under this spell, right? With Neptune. And when Neptune goes retrograde, this means the numbing, right, starts to wear off. The fog starts to lift. So if people haven't been doing their inner work, right, and really progressing and making changes, because the Aquarian age, it's all about change. We all have to change for this time that we're in. Then this is going to be a big shocker for people, right? So this is when the boundaries dissolve. With Neptune, it just dissolves all boundaries. This is where we can experience a lot of loss too in our life. So where we're not being our authentic self, not being true to ourselves, not really following our intuition or our heart, then the things that we're clinging onto will start to dissolve. Okay. So it's in the shadow of turbulence, which I've talked about in my last video. And it goes from June 28th till December 3rd. And so I did a whole video on Neptune in the 36, if you want to check that out. So it's the shadow of turbulence. And you can see here it's off the solar plexus, right? The solar plexus here. And it's the gift of humanity and the gift of compassion. So this is all about our emotions. So Neptune, boundaries dissolve in our emotions. That's what this means right here. There's the ego, there's worm tongue. And then this is the ego's been able to repress the emotions. You know, we've been trained from day one to repress our emotions, no matter if you're female or male. We've all been taught to repress our emotions. And so this is the shadow of turbulence, right? So this way of like numbing, because Neptune's all about addictions, keeping it all down, pretending it's not there, pretending those deep emotions aren't there, pretending the anger is not there, or the sadness, or the grief, right? Or the anger is not there. People are starting to lose it. I'm already seeing it here. People are like lashing out. And it only takes one little tiny thing. It's like this build up, this pressure, this emotional pressure that wants to release, and it just takes one small thing, you know, to tick people off, like their appointment gets canceled. Rah, out comes all that anger and repressed emotions, right? So the ego's been able to hold that down, right? With Neptune. Oh, it's okay. Now we talk ourselves out of our emotions. It's not that bad. It will get better. That person will change, right? Because we don't want to make changes. The ego doesn't want to make changes. The ego talks a good talk about change. Worm tongue talks a good talk about change. Oh yeah, I want to change. But the ego wants to change on its terms, right? The ego doesn't want it, it wants it, the external to change, right? So it goes more my way. But it doesn't really want change, because real change means this gets diluted. That means the ego's got to step more and more out of the way and let the divine start and life force work through us. So this is what's going to be happening, right? In the next 6 months, all these repressed emotions are going to start releasing from the collective. And this, we're evolving through the emotional body. So this is part of our evolutionary process. So it could be, you know, I don't want to make any negative predictions, but just be aware that we're going to see people start to lose it more, right? Especially if they're not connected to their divine, their divinity, you know, and all this is coming up. This is also our connected to our ancestral memories, these repressed emotions. They're not just from our childhood, right? They go back from our past lives. It goes back to our ancestors, right? So this is the Great Flood. We heard about the Great Flood, right? The 40 days and 40 nights of rain, right? The time in Noah's Ark. Well, the Great Flood is happening inside each one of us, and it's the emotional Great Flood that's happening. So we really need to learn to have a relationship with our emotional self, you know, a healthy relationship with our emotional self, and we haven't been taught that, and there's wisdom in those emotions. So, you know, I've got that meditation for a broken heart. That's a really good one to start with. And I'll put it in the link. And I'm really committed to putting more of my meditations back on my own website so that YouTube doesn't interfere, putting ads and things in the middle of them, right? So that people have like an SOS toolkit that they can go to if they're like, oh, my emotions are overtaking me, right? That they can have this healthy release through Kundalini Yoga meditation. So what's really interesting too with this 36 is this happens to me so many times. It's like one day I'll just suddenly want to listen to an old music or look at artists' work or something like that. And so what I did, started listening to George Michael, right? Yesterday, while I was working, I just had the YouTube playlist going. And then I immediately thought, you know, this guy, I'm acoustic, right? I'm a pure individual on my channels. So I receive information from listening, the frequency of someone's voice. There's some people I can't listen to at all. I know they've got great content, but it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I get irritated. I can't listen to them. And so I'm listening to his voice, right? And it's like, oh, I bet he's got some emotion. I know he's an emotional manifester, but I forget what channel he has. And he's got this, right? So there's a defined solar plexus. And he's singing right from his solar plexus. And it's like, oh, that's what it's like. Adele, she's the same way. Why they reach so many people? Because they're moving people with their emotions, right? Through the voice, through the frequency of the voice. So turbulence is all about emotions, right? It's stirring that emotional body up. And look at him, like look at that picture. He looks like he's going to break down in tears like any second, right? Maybe he did after that photo shoot. So, and he's also, just quickly too, because he's a 6-2, right? He's a 6-2 manifester. So these are the role models, right? For the new Aquarian age. And of course he got called, right? He didn't make it through his process, his transitionary process, because this refusal to change. This is the ego. The ego doesn't want to change. at all, right? So what do I want to say about the 36 is about being emotionally vulnerable. It's about not being the fear, the shadow, and the shadow of turbulence is fearing that you'll be overwhelmed by your emotions, that you'll be incapacitated by your emotions. So it makes you want to run away, right? But you can't run away from yourself. You can't run away from your emotions. And you're sending that frequency out. If you're not dealing with your emotions, it's down there in the unconscious. You're sending that frequency out into the world. And whatever you send out, you receive back, right? That's divine law. And that's the boomerang effect. So you will attract those people, the situations, the experiences, and it's all about bringing up those emotions so that you can release them. So it's never about the ego wants you to be looking outside of yourself, right? That, oh, it's that person that's making me feel so uncomfortable. It's that person that's making me feel angry or sad or in fear. It's them. They're not. Those are just messengers. That nobody makes you feel anything, right? Nobody makes you feel a thing. It's already inside you. All that person is helping you to draw those emotions out of you. They were there long before you ever met that person, right? This is the lies of the ego. So the people that make you feel uncomfortable, it's like you want to embrace them in a sense. Like, thank you for showing me what's inside me that I don't have access to. Whatever that is, it could be joy and love and happiness too, right? It's not just all the anger, fear, and grief, but we want to get to the love. That's the frequency, right, that we're after now, and it's doing this emotional purification work. So we want to watch that, right? Neptune in the shadow of turbulence coming through, and it's in the fourth line. It's going retrograde in the fourth line until December 3rd, and that's all about community. The fourth line is about community. So we're going to feel it collectively, right? And the gift is compassion, right? So we always want to have compassion. This is the heart in action, right? The heart in action is compassion. So we want to have compassion for whatever's going on for us in our life. Yeah. So just be aware of that. That's happening on June 28th next week too, with the new moon. In this shadow of stress. Okay. So where do we want to start with this here? So the 52, that's where the moon is, new moon. So this new moon is seeding something for the next cycle. It's like we're in Earth school. We're learning our lessons. So we're going to be learning about stress. Maybe you're already feeling stress or have been feeling stress. It's also in the fourth line, right? So that's about our community and about our hearts too. So the 52 you can see down here is coming off the root. This is the root chakra. That's the 52. So there's a pressure, right? There's a pressure with the root chakra. And this is the shadow of stress. And so it comes in two flavors. It can be stuck or restless. Stuck or restless. Those are the two flavors of the shadow. And it's really about divine timing, right? So this is the city, is stillness. So it's restraint and stillness. So the thing that we need to know about stress, it's not coming from inside of us. It's actually a collective field of fear that we live in. And so you can feel it more intensely if you live in a city, you know? I went to... and I've lived in cities, and I've had enough of them, right? In 2012, it's like I've had enough of the cities because of this frequency of fear, this frequency of stress, right? You really feel it in the city because we're communicating with one another through our auras, right? So we form a collective aura. So it's more intense in the cities, right? But it's also... it covers the world, right? It can cover the world because there's billions of us. There's 7.5 billion humans and growing. So the fear of this shadow is the timing of things, the divine timing of things. We don't trust life, we don't trust the divine. And so we either get stuck or we're driven to run, the restlessness, right? We need to get the stress off of me. And that's when we listen to the ego, right? He's saying, do something. You have to do something. Interfere. You've got to interfere, right? Don't trust the divine timing of all things. Like, trust me. I know what's going on. So when you're in that frequency of fear, you're completely disconnected from your intelligence. When you're in here, like I talked about with your infinite soul and worm tongue, the ego is smaller and smaller. That's when you're connected to the divine. You're connected to your intelligence. This is the real intelligence, not the ego, not the ego at all. So what's going to happen, right? When you start listening to the ego, when you're feeling that stress, you're just going to incur more karma. You go down dead end road after dead end road after dead end road. It creates more stress because that's what he is. He's all about stress. You see, it's the blind leading the blind. I want to get out of my stress, but I'm going to this frequency that's the embodiment of stress, And the stress keeps you off balance. It keeps you out of your center, right? Out of your core. And so this creates mental anxiety. That's up at night, worrying about things. What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Or you get so overwhelmed. And just imagine, right, with Neptune going retrograde in turbulence, it's going to be even more overwhelmed, right? You can get into apathy. It's like your mind completely shuts down. It's really, really depressed, right? Or you get this restlessness, and then you're out with road rage and lashing out at people, projecting all your anger and fear onto other people, that it's them that's creating it. So the belief here, because each shadow has a belief pattern that we have to get rid of, that we've got to drop, is that the only way to get rid of stress is to give my authority, my decision-making authority, over to my mind. And our mind is not for making decisions now. That's a dangerous place to put our authority, because I told you over and over again, the mind is all about the past. We're in the new. We're in the new. We can't be looking to the past, what worked in the past, what we're going to do again. It's not going to work. The old ways of being are dropping away, right? This is the Aquarian age. We have to embrace the new. And that means creativity. That means embracing the unknown. So we can't be using our, making decisions through our mind. This also affects your health too, just because it's the programming partner is the 58. That's all about our life force energy. So this shutdown, this apathy that you can experience, feeling stuck in your life, that's your life force energy just getting shut down, right? Shut down. And the other way, the restlessness, is the adrenal glands going crazy, right? And people can get addicted to stress, even though it's like poison, right? So when you integrate the shadow, right? So look at the divine timing. I love this picture, right? The divine timing that we have to trust. What we see, you see right here, is not always what's really going on. So this is what we have to embrace with the gift of restraint, like not interfering, right? Not interfering with the divine timing of everything, and nature's timing too. Running out and screaming at a seed, like a carrot seed, to grow faster. It's not gonna, the ego projecting its anger and fear, it's not gonna help, right? It's not gonna do anything. So this is why we have to go into that state of patience. That's what restraint is patience. And and look at the difference, right? Right there. So don't always because with the mind and the ego, it's like, well, it's what I see out here. That's what's real. You don't know what's going on, right? We can't see what's going on when things are germinating. So when you integrate the shadow, so it's all about seeing it and feeling it, Okay, I'm feeling this stress that Michael was talking about now. I'm just going to feel it. I'm not going to act from it. I'm not going to act from that place. I'm going to go into a place of trust. And the I don't know, I love that mantra. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with that person. I don't know why this is happening, but I'm just going to trust. I'm going to have faith in the divine. So trusting the timing of things and not interfering out of fear, right? And life, this gift too of restraint and stillness is like knowing that life knows when it's time to work, right? And when it's time to rest. And this is why we have to know our own frequency. You know, we have to be in tune with frequency. It's not about our mind anymore for the Aquarian age. It's about frequency. Where's the energy right now? Where's the energy right now? And you feel it. And if you try, and I've learned this the hard way, if I try to impose my will and the energy's not there for something, I exhaust myself. Like I pay big time through my health. It's like almost immediate now. I know. It's like, oh, it's like a wall. A wall of energy that I can't even go through anymore. It's just that intense. It's that extreme for me now. And then when the energy's there for something, it's there, right? It's there. So it's about trusting. The energy is for this right now. The energy is for being active, right? And doing all your errands and chores and things. Oh, the energy is for resting, like just chilling out, reading, right? Relaxing, maybe going to the beach or nature or wherever you live, right? It's trusting the rhythm. We're trusting. We're coming back into natural rhythm, right? This is divine law. But you need to know your frequency. That's your attunement, right? Attune to the frequency of where's the energy right now, right? So sometimes if your mind is like you got your thing on the to-do list, you have to go to where's the energy right now and follow that. And then shifting, knowing when to shift your internal environment, because we're in the frequency of stress, right? It's going to get more and more intense these next 6 months. Right? So we're in it, we're living in it. So we have to rise above it. And this is about shifting your internal environment, knowing how to shift your internal environment. So watching your thoughts. What are the thoughts, right? Look at your dashboard, like I talked about before. Look at your dashboard for your consciousness. Where am I right now? What are my thoughts? Am I in extreme negativity, right? I got to stop that. I got to nip that in the bud. And how am I feeling? Am I feeling contracted? Am I feeling little? Am I feeling small? Then this means you're sinking, right? You're sinking into his world. And that's the stress and the lower frequency energy that's on the planet. You want to be above it, right? You want to be rising above it. You can do that by shifting your internal environment. You know, we're all like, there's 7.5 billion people. There's 7.5 billion worlds. We're all having our unique experience of this great transitional age, right, into the Aquarian age. So you can have you'll have your experience, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be like everybody else's. Like you have the power to shift, right? And it's about shifting your internal environment. And then you're not being pulled down into these stress states and making stupid decisions, right? And choices. And we're going to see that with people making stupid decisions. The only reason they're making stupid decisions is because they're acting out of fear and they're listening to worm tongue, right? And not their higher self. This is good too. So know the greater your power, the longer it takes to germinate and bear fruit. So you may be a late bloomer. In the sixth, like I'm an early indigo child, so I'm definitely a late bloomer, right? In the sixth line, right? The sixth line profile people, they're late bloomers because their time of blossoming is like, 48, 49, 50 and on. That's their blossoming time. It's taken them that time long to germinate and go through their process, their developmental process. So the greater your power, the longer it takes to germinate and bear fruit. Some people, they blossom in high school. That's their blossoming. Some people blossom when they're in their 20s. They're like early bloomers. And then there's other of us that are late bloomers. So you may be a late bloomer too. Don't listen to the ego telling you, well, you're too old now. You can't do that. You're too old. There's so much BS propaganda about age, you know? It's time to retire, and you have to be like everybody else, and you know, take up golfing or knitting or something, right? Go off in the pasture. Your time is done. You don't want to listen to any of that. And then times when you feel deeply restrained. When you feel deeply restrained, like nothing is moving. Like nothing's moving in my life. I feel so stuck, right? I don't know where to turn. I feel so stuck. That's when you have to know, without a doubt, right, that nature is moving at her own speed. Just like that carrot, right? That's you, right? You're growing at your own speed, and you don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on under that soil, in our collective unconscious too. So that's the, and what else did I want to say? And we're going to be tested, really, what I see happening. So you want to, rise above the collective field of fear and anchor into the higher frequencies. So always optimism, love, the frequency of love, that stuff. Is that we've got to really watch money. This is where we're going to be really tested, is around money and survival, if we can restrain ourselves. Because this is the trump card, right, for the ego. You know, you've got to do something. Your rent is due, right? You've got bills to pay. You've got to think of your retirement. You have all these survival things, right? And meanwhile, it's all like me. Me. This is the I, this is the ego. And that's pulling you down, pull you down in those lower frequency energies. And this is where we really get tested with money, right? With survival. That's when we really get tested in our faith. And what was I going to say about that? Just because it's the new moon, and this is also, this gift is about, it's about seeding. It's about a seed. It's like we're planting our seed. Plus, it's the new moon. So we're planting our seeds now, you know? And our seeds are our intentions. It's our intention. What do we want to plant, right? Because really, we are a seed. You've been seeded with something before you incarnate it. There's an intention in the seed that's inside you. And the intention is for you to do your soul's destiny, whatever that is, right? Your soul purpose, to walk that path. And so you have everything you need. It's like a seed, you know, a carrot seed, right? Because we got carrots here. The carrot seed has everything that it needs, right? To follow that, its destiny, to become a carrot. So it's the same with you. Whatever's inside you has everything that it needs. It's going to attract the resource. You're a little seed that's starting to germinate and blossom now for the Aquarian age. It's going to attract all the people, the resources that you need, right? The experiences you need, the trainings and all the things that you've done, the work that you've done. That's all been coming through this seed, right? So that's your intention. So you want the intention not to be in fear, right? Well, I don't want, that's a lot of people. It's like, my intention is I don't want to be poor. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want things to be like they were before. That's still planting fear, right? So what are you going to attract? You're going to attract those exact experiences that you don't want, right? So you want to really, this new moon, right? Because you're planting a seed for this new moon, for this cycle, is to look at from a place of love and trust. And you always have to go for the Aquarian age now, because we have to really embrace this collective consciousness. We need to go from the language of me to the language of we, right? So a good question is to ask yourself, how can I best serve humanity, like with my gifts and talents, right? So the greater your intention, right, the more power is going to be, right, that will manifest for you. So just to look at that, we've got to really start to expand our way of thinking now, and really look at what we're planting, right? Because we're creators, we're co-creators. Humans are very, very creative beings, right? So how can I what's my contribution? How am I going to make humanity better, right? And we want to serve. That's totally what we want to serve. So we want to stay out of this energy. Remember, I used this tarot card before. It's not literally Satan or the devil, but it represents a frequency. This is the shadow frequency, right? And this devil energy is all about enslavement. This is codependency, right? And we're moving through the shadow of codependency. Codependent on little g. Codependent on people that may be supporting you, right? Because right now we're in this North Node 23.4. This is Taurus. This is about becoming self-reliant, right? Believing in yourself. And if somebody is offering you, because we're going to get offered, right? Little g is going to start offering people things, right? Offering. And it comes with those chains. Well, we'll offer you UBI, right? Oh, but there's a couple conditions with the UBI. Oh, really? What? Because people get excited. Oh, free money. I don't get to do anything. I don't do anything for this money. Oh, yeah, you do a lot, right? You're basically selling your soul, right? And compromise, what I talked about in the last video. And UBI, well, you get to be a pincushion for Big Pharma. That's a requirement. Oh, you get to eat what we tell you to eat, right? The bug and insect burgers, and you'll be happy, right? You get to travel where we say you can travel. Oh, you can't go beyond this point and this point. Like absolute control. This is the devil energy. So you got to watch it. Who in your life is offering you something for free, right? You got to stand up with self-reliance and like, you know what? I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm not taking your money. I'm not taking your money. I know that this is what I want and where I'm going over here. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm not going here. This is compromise, and this is how you get enslaved with this energy. So we really have to watch this as a humanity, right? It's the soul harvest. It's all about trapping, right? Trapping souls. And it's just our test, right? We're all in a spiritual test right now. So you want to like just go into trust, right? Go into trust. What story did I want to was coming up for me just in terms of money? So I talked about this in 2012. I got liberated. And liberation's not as great as it sounds. It's you're liberated from the known. That's all it is. That's what liberation is. You're liberated from the known. So I talked about like my whole life just like fell apart. It was a huge tower moment for me. My marriage just all of a sudden dropped. My spiritual community dropped. They disappeared. All my friends disappeared. What I was doing, like teaching in 3D, that disappeared. Family support disappeared. There was basically just me and Bougie, right? That's it. And so, and then I was trying to get back in, I need to get back in the cage. I need to get back in the cage and get a JOB, and right? Because the survival issues is what gets you. And none of that was working. It was like I was completely relying on one thing and one thing only, and that was my intuition. Like I was forced to connect with my intuition. Like I had absolutely no support except for the divine, right? So I went on this crazy adventure, right? Because I was liberated. All I had was my laptop and was doing some readings like here and there, right? Nothing really that I could rely on, right? Complete trust in the divine. And so my intuition, it would come through after my sadhana, after meditation, it would be go here, right? I would get the information, okay, it's time for you to go here, like go to Sedona, go to Big Sur, go to San Diego, go to Mount Shasta. So this was at the beginning, in the very beginning. So it was like, go to Mount Shasta. So got my little car, right? Packed full of everything that I owned was in that little car, including bougie, right? So we went to Mount Shasta. And if you've ever been to Mount Shasta, it's very, very special. It's in California. And there's only a window of time that you can be there because it gets snowy. So I lived there for a month on the mountain, like this big mountain. They say it's the root chakra of the planet. I really believe that. And they say the Lemurians live there too, that they're at a different frequency. So, and it's not like a monitored, it's not like a state park or anything. It's very, just kind of out there in the wilderness. You have to go down for your water and food and things like that. So I was there. And if you've ever been there to Mount Shasta, it's like a sound stage. Like my mind just completely shut. Like it was just shut down, my mind. It was just very peaceful, right? Very peaceful there. So I'm there I think it was the first night I was there in my tent, like my little tent. You've got no control over who comes and goes there, right? So in come the drunks, right? These group of drunk men, young men. They were yee-haws and screaming and yelling. And right away, my mind started, well, I better, I was going into fear. I better bring my cooler in my tent. And I better get my knife in case I have to, fend for myself. And meanwhile, my muscles are getting like tense and I can feel my energy feels like getting constricted. And then my intuition bubbled up right away because I was in a fear state, right? Fear, anger state, this stress, right? This stress shadow. And my intuition said, you need to shift. You need to shift your way of thinking right now. And I know why I got that powerful message now, because the power of manifestation is huge on that mountain, right? So I would have been sending out that vibration, and of course it would come back to me. So then my intuition said, you need to reframe your thinking. You need to shift your thinking from everybody is out to take from you to everybody is here to support you and help you. And as soon as I let that thought in, immediately my body started to relax. I started to relax. And it was like, yeah, people are here to support me, to help me. They're not here to hurt me. And of course, the life took care of the drunks, right? Right? Nature takes care of drunks. They just like sink into that energy, right? So it got really peaceful and quiet, and I slept really, really well. Got up the next morning to start my car, and the battery was dead, right? I had left it on by mistake, right? I'm just going, I just made that one sound, and the person next door to me, like just up a little bit from that road, said, I'll help you, right? And he drives over, and he does everything. It's like, he's like a 50s gas man. He just boom, boom, boom. My battery was charged. And then I go down the hill, right? Down the mountain to get gas and water and stuff. So I do that, and then I want to go to this hiking trail that's kind of off the beaten road. So I drive down the highway, 10 miles and down this winding dirt road, and it's like, I think I'm lost. So I'm stopping and I'm checking the map on my phone, and this guy drives by, and he said, "Is this yours?" And it was my wallet. I had left it on the roof of my car, right? And he had followed me all this way. And he goes, "For some reason, I just knew this was your wallet. I don't know how I knew," right? And then he said, "Can I help you? Are you lost?" And then he helps me find this hiking trail, right? And so that was my experience of, and all I could do is laugh because I've got no support, no connection. Like, what would have happened? All my identification was in there, my passport, my money, right? My debit card, everything in there. So this is what we have to do, right? Is trust. And I had this deep experience of trust, right? Trust that the money will come. All the resources will come. They always come. They've always come for me. Sometimes last minute, right? But they still came. So we have to really, really trust so that we don't get caught up in this energy, right? This is the energy that these dark forces want us in, enslaved, right? Enslaved and controlled. And we're not, we're free. You need to remember that you're free and you have the divine right to exist here, right? You're a free being. That's your divine right. We have to start claiming this now as humans. Yeah. Okay, so that's one of my miracle money stories. I've got many, many of those, but it was so moving for me. Like all it took, that's all it took, was just a shift in my thinking, and that's how you shift your internal environment, right? And then what comes to me, all these experiences of trust that people are here to support and help me. But it's like you need to discern, like, this is not help, right? If you're acting from fear, oh, this person's here to help me, and you're in fear, you're my savior, you're going to give me all this money, that's not the same, right? You're not in an expanded space of love, the frequency of love. So this is what we really have to be aware of during these times, especially with Neptune, right? All the illusions and delusions and addictions and all that. Okay, so let's look at some comments, 1441 here, and then we'll giddy up with the readings. Okay, Satnam Diana, Shaima, Linda, Stellium and Cancer, holy craziness. I've got it in Taurus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're in the school of Cancer. Jennifer, Satnam, Scorpio, Rochelle, Stephanie, Satnam, Stephanie, Hadi Shakti, New Jersey, Jeanette, and Baines. Okay. Jen, good one. Yeah, worm tongue's really working for me. Ryan, Satnam. Okay. Yeah. M. Baines, it's true. I'm really, I'm so grateful for Kundalini Yoga meditation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then you guys are talking here. Great. Okay. So let's see the overlays. We'll just pick some cards for the collective. So, I like to work with the ego cards, because that's our trap. The ego is that trap. Okay. I've got, does anybody have the 52? I've got it in my Venus position. It's kind of an important one for me because my Venus is conjunct my North Node. Okay. Collective. What's the ego going to be telling the collective? And it's also important too to really be accepting of what it, just because I'm thinking of Neptune going retrograde. My Neptune is actually natally is in retrograde, so it's all about having your own direct experience with the divine when your Neptune's retrograde. I'm not here to go through a mediator in this lifetime. It's all about having my direct experience. And also was able to see through the BS, even as a child. Rarely got fooled by people. Is to really be accepting of any emotions that are coming up. Like, don't push them away. They're just going to get stronger and stronger. until you're forced to deal with them. And it's best not to be incurring karma. Bringing other people in. Okay. What's the ego telling the collective? What's the ego telling collective? That one here. Oh. And then just a clarification card. Okay. So you know my cards aren't printed yet, but it's the past lives card for the collective, and then it's the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups. You can see that guy with his hands in the frequency of regret, disappointment, sadness. Yeah. What I'm feeling here is that we did get trapped, in our past lives. Maybe we shirked on our soul contracts, we didn't follow through on our soul's destiny because of fear. It's usually fear, and there can be a lot of regret about that with the Five of Cups, And right now, we're meeting so many people from our past lives. I'm sure you've all had that experience too. You may not be aware of it, but this is the 30. Saturn is in the 30. Do you see that? This gate right here off the solar plexus, I have it, but I have it unconscious. That means it's red. And this means if you've got this gate, you have the ability to remember past lives, but it's like a tunnel. For me, it comes out of nowhere. It will come out of nowhere. It will just be like a flash. I have no control over it at all. And then it's like a knowingness, and it's an emotional memory for me, right? Because it's coming through the solar plexus. But just with Saturn there, it's showing us that because we're going through this transit, that we will have, right? We will have run-ins with people from our past lives because we travel in soul clusters, right? And remember, we're meeting our fractals now. So no more, there's our karma mates, but then there's also our soul allies too. Yeah. That's what I would say is that these emotions can be going very, very deep back into your past lives, to not go... to not try to make sense of it, or create a story about it. It's just feel it. That's all you have to do is just feel it. Feel the regret and the disappointment and the sadness. Because there's a lot of grief, right? I remember when I started doing early morning sadhana back in 2000. Well, 2001, really. That's when I got committed to it. There was so much grief, right, and tears, and the grief of being disconnected from your soul. Yeah. So that's a little warning. I feel like goes to Neptune. And then let's see what the gift is here. Restraint. This is part of opening up our hearts, right, as a humanity. That's part of the Aquarian age, is that this heart chakra has to open for the Aquarian age, and it's been so shut down from power this lifetime and all of our other lifetimes. Yeah. Okay. And what's the gift here for the collective? What's the gift for the collective? This one. Oh, this is great. So this is saying that the problems, because this is problem, rising above the problems, are coming from our past lives. And this is all repressed, right? Repressed emotions is the five of cups. Deep disappointment, deep regrets. It's saying to rise above the problems. So that's perfect for this gift of restraint, because it's about moving yourself into this, right? Out of the shadow frequency of the ego into this, right? Rising that you're much bigger than these little problems. This is what the ego creates for you, these little tiny problems, you know? And the ego can totally create money problems. If you listen to the ego, you could be self-sabotaging yourself. Opportunities are coming, blessings are coming. But you're like me, like I had to shift my thinking on Mount Shasta, that that person wants to take from me. That person is deceiving me, right? You're listening to this. The ego doesn't want anything good coming to you. It just wants the bad, wants this coming to you, right? That's what the ego wants coming to you. And it's going to tell you to trust this, right? It's not going to tell you to trust the blessings and the good people, right? So this is the rising above the problems, that you're much, much bigger, right, than these little tiny problems that the ego is creating for you. And sometimes, we need that. This is the duality of the ego and your infinite self and your soul, because they're the complete opposites. We can use it, right? Because we do live in a plane of duality. We can use it. I'm in my lower frequency and I'm listening to my ego and I'm in mental anxiety. That means I got to shift, internal shifting. That's the gift of restraint and stillness, right? Rising above your problems. So that's good for the collective, because we didn't have this. Our ancestors didn't have this in our past lives, these tools and this information. All this spiritual information was hidden from us, and there's no more lies. There's no more hiding in the Aquarian age now. And we can't let this hold us back of what happened in the past, right? Well, this didn't work in my past life. Because as soon as you start making forward movement on your soul journey, you're going to come face to face with those deep, deep fears from your past lives. Well, when I did this last lifetime, I got persecuted. I got burned at the stake. I got ostracized. I got the scarlet letter on me. Right? We're going to face all those fears that keep us from really stepping into our power right here. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the first sign, which is Pisces. And I'll talk about turbulence too, just to help people more. There's that. Okay. Oh. Okay, let's go for Pisces. And we'll do the overlays here. Okay, here's Pisces. Pisces, Sun, Moon are rising. And so it's always a good idea to go, if one doesn't resonate, you may say, well, but I'm a Pisces and this doesn't resonate with me. You want to go one forward and one before, because sometimes just how the house system works, that one will be more applicable to you. So for this, for example, would be Aquarius, right? Or Aries. Okay, so we're looking at the new moon is going to be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is in the 5th house for Pisces. And so they're getting, in terms of turbulence, it's going to be an emotional overwhelm for Pisces. Is all happening in their 1st house. Like this is their body, right? So they're going to feel this very, very viscerally, the emotions being released. And so any illusions that they've had about holding on to an old identity are going to start to dissolve, right, with Neptune. Like 36 Neptune's been in there for a while, but it's been creating this fog, right? around your relationship with your identity and how you show up in the world. And remember, these old identities, they have to go. They have to go for the Aquarian age. We have to really embrace that we don't really know. You're a mystery. Every person is a great mystery. That's why it's so funny that people seem to think that they know another person. They don't even know themselves, right? So Pisces has to watch out for that and to be more emotionally vulnerable, right? Not to fear their emotions, more emotionally vulnerable with people, you know? And things are changing. This is going to start to be more considered more of a strength than a weakness when we're able to like be healthy in our expression of our emotions. It's also saying to do the work, right? So feel it to the end, right? That means go in fear, anger, grief. Once you get to the grief, that's the end, right? And then you're in frequency. So it's in the 5th house. So there could be your relationship with your child, if you're a mother or father, to not get stressed out about your child, whatever your child's doing. Especially, you know, with the child, like let's talk about this this gift here, right? With the child, because really it's the life force energy. This is what we're trusting. And the child is a perfect example of how we can use this gift of restraint. So they've already been seeded with their destiny, like all of us, right? So every child has been seeded with their destiny. And then they grow through this life force that's moving through them, right? That's nature's way of how they're going to develop. And the parent can't interfere with that, right? And impose their experience on their child. Well, I was ostracized as a child, so I'm going to do this instead. Or I wasn't paid attention to, so I'm going to smother my child, you know? As you have to, the gift of restraint is to actually trust, right? That this life force energy is moving through the child and the child will develop. You know, it's not become neglectful, but set healthy boundaries, but let the child grow. And it's in his or her own time, right? Emotionally and mentally, physically, right? And to resist trying to interfere. And that's a tough one, right? It's because we don't want people that we love to suffer. Nobody wants to watch somebody they love deeply suffer, right? But they have to learn their lessons too, and to know that you don't impose your trip on somebody else. They're having their own experience, and this is how they learn and grow, right? So you may be called to do that, Pisces, with your children. This could be like a romantic partner too. You may feel impatient. Maybe you're not getting any romance in your life or creativity or anything like that. You're feeling stressed about it. Time's ticking. Time's running out, right? When's this going to happen? You know? And it's just the trust, divine timing, right? I love the quote somebody said about relationships. A spiritual teacher said this, that it's not about running, getting on Tinder and Harmony, eHarmony and stuff and doing the online dating, right? That relationships are revealed. You don't run out and chase them. The divine just kind of reveals them like as a surprise, right? So you may be called, Pisces, to know that because of this theme of self-reliance, right? Is that the relationship, like you're the main course, but the relationship is the dessert, right? And that this is this revealing, that the relationship is revealed to you. And often as a surprise, right? Like, wow, I didn't really see that person before. I didn't recognize them as my soulmate, right? And suddenly there they are. So it's just about trusting the divine timing in the romance department, or your children, or any kind of creative project too that you're embarking on for Pisces. Yeah. Oh, let's do the cards for Pisces. Is there any Pisces on the video? Live stream? And planting a seed for your romance too. Like what do you want? right? Like really look at that. Like, what do you want in a romantic partner? Maybe somebody you can have fun with. There's one. The karmic relationships are always so serious. The fighting and the conflict and the power over, and maybe you just want fun and some laughter. Okay. What does Pisces need to hear about this new moon? In their house of romance and fun. Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay, well, that one was just there, so I'm going to take it. Okay, so the runner, if I had a picture, it would be somebody running. The runner for Pisces in the romance department in the shadow of stress. This is the runner. This is part of the restlessness. The restlessness. So this is fear of intimacy. That's what the runner is all about. This is the ego telling you, like to run, like bolt. And it comes from the independent ego. So there's the codependent ego. It's like, I need you. You're my savior. I'm lost without you. I'll die without you. All those bad songs on the radio. And then the independent is, I'm an island. I don't need anybody. Right? And really what that is saying, this is so different than self-reliance. Right? It's completely different, this independent, because it's all the ego. You're listening to the ego. And it's fear of intimacy. It's fear of being seen, right? Being vulnerable. Let's go back to that 36, right? In your first house, being emotionally vulnerable, being emotionally honest, you know? And this is one of the top 5 regrets of the dying. It's like, I've never let anybody really get to know me. I never really showed myself to anybody. I always kept my cards, right, close to my chest. I always had my hand up, right, not trusting. People want to take from me. And this comes from your childhood, right? Comes from your childhood. So this is saying the ego's not letting you, is telling you lies, right? That's what's going to keep you safe if you just run, just bolt, just avoid intimacy at all costs. And that you'll be free. Because there's a fear with the runner. It's like, my freedom will be taken away, right? That's the lie that the ego tells you. Your freedom will be taken away if you're in a relationship. And it's really a conflict. All of our relationships are a mirror, right, to our ultimate relationship which is with the divine. That's our ultimate relationship. So the runner, Pisces, is saying that you're running from the divine. You're running from your intuition. You're running from your heart, right? You're running from that love. That's the only thing the runner's running from is love. All this divine love that wants you, and that you ultimately want too, is that divine love. So it's the conflict with the divine, with the runner in the 5th house. So you may be avoiding, right, romantic partnership, or getting into romantic partnerships and then going into this restless energy in running. But it's keeping you away from your healing, right? Because eventually you can't run from yourself forever. Wherever you go, there you are, you know? And then you've got the 3 of Wands. And this is about waiting. And that's interesting because these two are different in a sense. So the 3 of Wands is waiting for your ship to come in. So this is good. I see this as a positive card actually for you, because it's about trusting in divine timing. That's what the 3 of Wands is. Like, I know it's coming, you know? It's like when you go to a restaurant and you get your order, you just sit back, right? Have your water, whatever you're drinking, and then you wait for your order to come in. You're not running around going in the kitchen, is it done yet? You know? right? You know that it's coming. So that's what this 3 wands is saying. It's like romance is coming. And then I'm waiting for this. I know that it's coming. I'm just waiting, patiently waiting in this gift of stillness and restraint. Yeah. In terms of romance and fun and love, right? This is love. It's also self-love too, the 5th house. It's about loving yourself, not running from yourself anymore. Yeah. Because really that's ultimately what you're running for. I mean, you're running from the divine. You're running from a person, obviously, as a runner, wanting your independence, thinking that the ego telling you they're going to take away your freedom. That's not true. Nobody takes anything away from you, right? If you feel like your freedom's being taken away, that means you're giving away your power to somebody, right? But you're running from yourself, right? You're really running from yourself with this energy, like listening to that ego. Let's see what the gift is here. And running from that stress, because you feel uncomfortable. To heal, I mean, you know this, everybody that's been on the healing journey, you get uncomfortable. It's just part of the experience of healing, is you get uncomfortable because you're expanding and growing. And relationships are awesome because they really show you a mirror of yourself. They show you things that you can't see on your own because the ego can trick you, right? If you're hiding out and isolating, the ego can trick you. Anyway, you got turbulence in the 1st house, right? So those boundaries are coming down, so it's going to be pretty clear. Pretty clear. Okay, what's the gift here for Pisces? Oh, it's ask for divine help. So when you're in this runner energy and you want to run and you're restless, you're fearing intimacy, but calling it that person wants to take away my freedom and, right, rain on my parade. I'm just going to avoid that. And then you know, it's like, no, I want to face this. I want to stop running. I'm not going to run anymore. I'm not going to run from myself. I'm not going to run from the divine. I'm not going to listen to that ego blaming everybody else for how I'm feeling. I'm going to stop and deal with these feelings. And then you ask the divine for help, right? It's like I'm out of moves, right? I'm totally out of moves. I'm at a dead end road here. I know I can't be doing the same things I've been doing for years and years. And now I'm going to ask for divine help. Whatever that looks like, right? It's like I need a person, maybe a therapist or somebody I really trust to help me overcome this, right? This runner dynamic that I've been in that's sabotaging my relationships, right? This is like a sabotage energy too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's how I see it in your romance department. It looks like with those cards. Okay, let's go to Aries. Just want to put these away. Let's go to the Ram. Aries. There we go. Where's the Aries? Aries has some turbulence going on in the 12th house. So that's past lives. You probably have met a past life or two, Aries. in the thing about, you know, the emotions moving through the 12th house, it's like they're coming out of nowhere. They're coming out of left field. You don't know where they're coming from at all, but they're coming from those past lives. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got the the shadow of stress in the 4th house. So you may be having some problems with home, right? Maybe you've got to move, or there's some problems in where you're living. in your apartment building or anything like that, or your home life. Can be stress there. And remember, it's about your environment, right? The environment that you live in. That's why I was just going to mention a good way to shift your internal environment, but another way to shift your environment that helps you shift your internal environment is listening to mantra music, like the Kundalini Yoga mantra music. So I've got a playlist, right? So all you can do is like click one of those. They're very powerful sound current that will shift the frequency of your environment, but something that you can attune to, right? To help you shift your state, right? Your state of consciousness. And so you can just right click and then you can loop it. You can have it on loop and see and have the experience, right? Of how you feel when you're in that frequency. Because there's people, I remember if you've ever been to a yoga studio, a Kundalini yoga studio, where they play that music all the time, like 24/7, they have it on, that it feels different, right? When you walk into a studio like that, you just feel like yourself, right? You can feel your heart, and there were people like that weren't even interested in yoga, but that would come and just, can I sit? Can I sit here can I sit here for 15 minutes? It's just people want that, right? Just to feel themselves. Like, what do I feel like? Not being swamped by all this energy that's around us, right? So that can really help. And of course, meditation. Okay, so stress, feeling restless, wanting to do something about your home life, possibly, or your mother, because this is Aries that connects to your mother too. There can be restlessness. There can be that sense of apathy and that you're stuck where you're living. There's no way out. You got to remember that the carrot, right? You don't know what's going on. There can be like a brand new home that's already being created, right? The divine is orchestrating something brand new for you, but you can't see it yet. All you see is that, right? That little sprout there, So let's see them. So it's just trusting the timing of things, and that's how it works when we're called to go somewhere, right? The time will come. It's just the restlessness that we have to deal with. It's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. It's just to surrender and trust that you are supposed to be there because you are there, not to interfere. Because there's all these desires that have to get lined up, If you're moving to a new place, then the other people have to move out and they have to go to their place, and all kinds of things that need to get orchestrated that we could not plan out in a million years with our little teeny weeny brains. Have you ever had that experience, like when you're in the flow, when you're in the complete flow of this intention that I'm talking about? Everything just effortlessly falls into place. Okay. So what do we got for Aries? What's the ego telling Aries? Oh. Well, this must do with your mother. Okay. For Aries. So Aries has doing God's job. That's what Aries got. So that may be connected to your mother, because this is a person, right? Or some kind of maternal figure in your life, or you're playing the mother, Like maybe you're the mother and sacrificing for your children. It can work that way too. But trying to take away somebody else's lessons, trying to do God's job. I know what's best for that person. And you're interfering, right? You're in the shadow of stress. You're interfering. And look, you got the 2 pentacles. It's a man there juggling 2 apples, right? This is the stress card in the tarot. So, and it's got stress right at the bottom there. It's the stress card. So there's going to be a lot of stress being created, not trusting the divine when it comes to your mother, right? That's what I see. It's like your mother or some maternal figure in your life. And stress around your home. This could apply to your home too, right? Interfering. This is doing God's job. I know better than God does. Yeah. That's the ego. Okay, let's see what the gift is. And it's also wishy-washy energy too, the 2 pentacles. And that's like not committing to your intention, because we do that. Right? What's your intention for your living situation? Like what kind of home do you want to manifest, And to commit to that you deserve that. Not to go wishy-washy, because that diffuses the energy, right, of manifestation. Okay. What's the gift for Aries? What's the gift for Aries here? What's the gift for Aries? The gift for Aries is that one. Creativity. Creativity. So it's the card of creativity. So this is all about trust. This is divine energy, right? Creativity. So not going to the past. Don't go to the past. What worked in the past or what works for other people. Because what works for other people may not work for you, because you have your own unique destiny, your own unique soul purpose. So trusting in the creative energy that's coming through with this. Remember, there's a way through every block. That's one of the sutras. And creativity is like the rock in a hard place, right? This is the 2 of Pentacles, the back and forth. Should I do this? Should I do that? This just keeps you locked, keeps you stuck, right? This energy of stuckness. And creativity is something that's up here. It's not horizontal, time and space. It's vertical, right? So something out of left field, that's creativity. Something new, something fresh, something you've never done before. Just to be open to that, be open-minded. Worm Tongue has the same playlist that he's telling everybody. We get the same advice from Worm Tongue, and it's all about the past. This is what worked in the past. Don't trust creativity. What if this happens? What if that happens? Oh, that's ludicrous. That will never work. Right? This is the wet blanket. Totally a wet blanket on this energy of creativity. And optimism. Yeah. Okay. That's for Aries. They're going to be working on their home and their emotional self too. That's the 4th house too. Yeah. And in the 36, right? Their past lives, which is, they're clearing. It's a clearing house, right? The 12th house. So you're getting a clearing of emotions too, Aries. Okay. Let's go for Taurus, the bull. Okay. So Jen Goodwin says, my brother's in Aries. I know he has things he needs to deal with our mother. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the bulls. Taurus. The bulls. So that's interesting. It's the shadow of turbulence is in your 11th house. So there can be emotions coming up around your friendships and your network. Right? In anger, I just want to talk about anger a little bit. It's not all bad, right? Anger. Anger, if you haven't dealt, and I've talked about this before, if you don't deal with your anger in the moment, at the time, if you don't nip it in the bud, it's showing you something. Like you can use anger. You can use all these emotions, right, as signals for something. And anger, in terms of your 11th house, is friendships, is feeling like a friend maybe has overstepped a boundary. That's what the anger is showing you. So if you're in that shadow of turbulence and talking yourself out of your feelings, right? Then this anger is going to build and build and build and pressure, and then it will be the blow up with the friends, right? Or maybe friends are getting angry with you too. To watch that. Maybe you're being called to be more emotionally vulnerable with your friends. Not trying to play it cool, like I've got everything together here, you know? More compassion for your friendships. That's the gift of the 36 for Taurus. Yeah. Something's going to come to me, but not right now. So Taurus, 1, 2, 3. So the shadow of stress in your third house. So that's around your neighborhood. It could be like as mundane as your car, like having stress around your car and your vehicle and your in travel, short travel. But it's also about your thinking, right? So also about your thinking. So what I'm feeling here in the third house is maybe issuing some restraint around your communication and how you communicate. Like, don't be blurting things out because you're restless. You're feeling restless, and I just want to get it out, right? I just want to get it out of my mouth. To maybe like hold back sometimes, and especially now. I mean, we're in that Jupiter's in the shadow of opinion, 17.4. Everybody and his dog's grandmother has an opinion about something, right? To maybe hold back, you know? And you know it when you're in tune with frequency and energy. You know when somebody's aura is open to you to hear, like they want to hear what you have to say, and then you can tell others they have no interest in what you have to say at all. They're only interested in their own opinion or anybody that agrees with them, right? So pick your battles. Sometimes the battles aren't worth it, you know? And sometimes it's just best to restrain and let the person learn on their own, you know? That trust that the truth will come through, right? That's the Aquarian age. The only thing left standing is the truth. So if somebody has like a really like out there opinion about something and they're obviously listening to propaganda on mainstream news, just let it be. It may not be your job to convert them, right? And I've noticed this with people. I just let it go. It's like, oh, on the back of my mind, it's like, oh, they're watching way too much TV, right? And they're closed, right? Closed to any kind of differing points of view. That eventually they do come around. That's what I've noticed. It's taken like a month or two, but then they come around. Oh, you know, I don't trust that news station anymore because of this, you know? So that's letting life work on that other person. It's kind of like not doing God's job card that Aries had, right? So restraining in your communication and how you communicate, and also watching your thoughts, right? Especially if it's coming from restlessness or it's coming from the feeling stuck. I'm just going to do anything because I want to get rid of this feeling of apathy, you know? Or I'm just going to run and do something just to get rid of this stress state, the activity, because the mind, the ego and the mind are saying, you need to be active to get rid of this stress. It's just let things be patient, right? Taurus are naturally patient anyway, and you have to be even more patient, right? And trusting. So this is what I'm seeing, is not acting on the mind and restraining in your communication, you know? Especially with your friendships, right? Because that 36 is in the 11th house. Okay, let's see what we got for Taurus. Oh, it's raining. Okay. So you got a double here. Okay, what does Taurus need to hear? God's job. The thing with Taurus can get stubborn, right? And that's the ego. Maybe you don't want to change your point of view too, right? It can work the other way. Okay, what's going with the God's job sacrifice? So Taurus got the doing God's job sacrifice. So I was already on that. Okay. Okay. And this is the King of Swords. See that guy, the King of Swords. So that's about being detached from an emotional state of this stress, right? Make sure that you're not communicating from this emotional state. That's what it's saying in the third house. And not trying to do God's job. Even if you know, like in your bones, in every one of your trillions of cells, that you're right, that this is true, you know, it's not your job. It's not your job to be, you know, telling that person, especially if they don't want to hear anything. And most people don't want to hear anything, right? Because they're so attached to their own egos. It's rare that you meet somebody that actually wants to learn and is open-minded. I love meeting those people, but they're rare, right? Because they're in the spell, right? The spell of the ego. And the ego always needs to be right. Always has to have the last word in. It knows everything, you know? So this is telling you that it's not your job, right? It's not your job to bring somebody to the truth, right? And to really honor your own energy. As a Taurus, honor your own energy. And this makes you, right, this restraint, I mean, it brings you into that place. This is energy efficiency, you know, not leaking your energy like in that compromise shadow I talked about, to abundance. Yeah. Yeah. So this is taking a detachment in how you communicate. Because sometimes you may be saying something that's very, very true, but it's got this frequency behind it, you know? And the frequency could be fear, right? Well, that's a lie then. Even though I know this sounds crazy, right? That you're speaking the truth with your words, but your frequency is in fear. The fear is the lie, right? So that's how they're going to receive it, as a lie. It's not going to go in, you know? And you've got to look at, like, why am I so adamant about getting my point across? Well, it's going to show you that you're here in the ego. The ego wants to be right, wants to get the last word in, right? It's all about winning for the ego. So to watch that. So let's see what the gift is here. Let's see what the gift is for Taurus. It's trusting everybody's in God's hands, you know. And it's a miracle sometimes to me, like to see people have really changed, you know. Just on their own. With their relationship with their divinity. Okay. What's the gift for Taurus? What's this one? That's so funny. So it's the gift of restraint. It's this gift, right? So this is what I've been saying, right? That's the gift of restraint. Yeah. Not doing God's job, biting down on your tongue. It's not going to hurt you. You've got nothing to lose, you know? When you're, you got everything to lose here when you're in the ego. Everything is the ego. That's what you lose. So it's a good way for your spiritual development, actually, is to watch. Like, because it will bring up the ego. It's showing you where your ego is, what you're invested in, right? What you're attached to. It's going to show you that. Yeah. Okay, that's for the Taurus. Let's put these away. So to retreat. And it's so empowering, you know, in my experience, when you just walk away. Not with resentment or lobbing bombs at that person, but just walking away. Like, it's about you. I value my energy, right? And I'm not gonna waste my energy on trying to be right. Because who am I feeding? Worm tongue. That's all I'm feeding with that, right? And we're going to see, right? We're already seeing it, all these different... This is what the powers, the negative shadow powers that they want us divided and they want us in conflict. Whenever you look at some major event in the world, if you look through that lens, it's like, oh, this is creating more conflict. It's got an agenda behind it to keep us in conflict because we're heading for unity consciousness, you know? They can't stop that. Okay, Gemini. So they've got, the Geminis have turbulence in their 10th house, so that's around the father. Geminis can be having some father issues coming up. So that means any issues with authority figures, like especially male authority figures, in terms of their vocation in their career, like bosses and supervisors, things like that. Could even be the government. Geminis can have some heavy-duty emotions coming up there. And then they've got the shadow of stress in the 2nd house. So that's money, right? So there can be a lot of stress around money. So this restraint, knowing that the money will come, right? Money's like that carrot. You don't know what's going on, right? You don't know what's going on. Especially when you're comparing yourself to others. Oh, they've got all this money and I don't. Yeah, so it's about not doing something stupid like taking a job that's not aligned with your soul purpose, you know, because you're acting out of fear, you know, and out of this stress. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I've got bills to pay, right? That's what the ego's telling you, right? You got to do something. You got to do something. What's going to happen? You're going to be out on the street. You're going to be homeless. Right? And your frequency is getting lower and lower and lower, and that voice is getting higher and higher, right? Restraint is this. I'm moving into my higher self. This is my true guide, not the ego. That's what I'm going to listen to, right? Because my higher self knows why I'm here. I'm not here to come down on this earth and pay bills and die. That's not get a job, pay bills, and die. That's not my destiny, you know? Okay, let's see what we got for in the 2nd house. And this can be about self-value too, right? Like not valuing yourself. Not valuing yourself. Not valuing your gifts and your talents. Your God-given gifts and talents, right? That are here to be shared with others. It's listening to the ego. Okay. Right? That your perfect way to earn money is coming, and to trust that. And it's all in divine timing. You know, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something really new and fresh, sometimes the world's not ready. The world's not ready, right? It's about divine timing. And then the world's ready for you and what you have to offer. Okay. What does Gemini need to see? What does Gemini need to say about this? That one. Yeah, it's no surprise. So Gemini got the shadow of deafness, and that's the self node. That's the karmic axis right there, right? Deafness, 43. That's the shadow of deafness. So that's becoming It's the shadow because you become deaf to your own higher self. You're not listening to your higher self. Who are you listening to? The only other one that you listen to is the ego. It's either or. It's the ego. You're either listening to your higher self or your ego. So not getting true guidance. So what's the card that goes with this? Around earning money. Look at this. Talk about polarity, right? So that's the Ten of Cups, right? The Ten of Cups. So this is about happiness. It's about emotional fulfillment, emotional happiness. So this turbulence, I'm seeing the turbulence in the 10th house may be showing you that you've been maybe Gemini too focused on the money, right? And not enough on your emotional fulfillment. Because this is what we really want. Emotional fulfillment, emotional happiness. But the ego tells us the only way we're going to get that is through money, you know? The only way that we're going to get this happiness and this divine love and blissful relationship with the Ten of Cups. This is like the happily ever after, right? It's the rainbow. The rainbow. That worm tongue's telling you that it's only through your vocation. Like you got to earn the money and then this will happen, right? So this card is showing you, and this is your deaf because you're listening to him. You're not listening to your higher self, right? And so this is insight. It's the gift of insight with this one. So you want to start listening to your higher self, and your higher self may be saying, you need to make yourself happy. And worm tongue's like, what do you mean make yourself happy? When you're out on the street and you're homeless and all the nightmare stories it's telling you, Gemini, right? Except this is what people don't get. If they chase their happiness, their true happiness, their soul's happiness, the money's going to chase them. It comes together. But if you're like, oh, I'm listening to worm tongue and I've got to go get the money first and then the happiness will chase me. It's like, no. Talk to any rich person, like really wealthy person. They don't have this. And this is what they really want, right? Yeah. You know, this Ten of Cups. So this is saying to you'll have a breakthrough in your second house, your way of earning money, when you start focusing on your happiness, right? When you start focusing on your happiness and your relationships, and less on the career, right? And that turbulence is going to show you, right? Those emotions will show you, yeah, what you've been repressing, right? Because this is all about emotions. The Ten of Cups. Oh, you've been repressed. I gotta work. I have to work. I have to work. Repression, repression, repression. Well, the emotions are going to come up. And it's like, I want to be happy, right? I want divine love. I want to be in a relationship. It's not just all about work, you know? So this is the rebel, right? That's this 43. So it's totally aligned with what you're letting go of, what we all are letting go of as a collective, right? Is this listening to our ego, not listening to our soul. This is the rebel, and the true rebel is you follow your own inner voice. That's the true rebel. That's the definition of a rebel, right? And sometimes you have to walk alone for a while until you meet other rebels. So let's see the gift. I mean, that's a big gift, that Ten of Cups. Let's see, yeah. Okay, what does Gemini need to hear? What's 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 Gemini need to hear? Oh, you got two cards here. So you got ego, death. So this is a big one for Gemini, is to restrain and go into a space of I'm worthy of something better. like earning money. I'm not a slave. I'm not just going to trade my energy and my time for a paycheck. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to restrain and I'm going to trust, right? In divine timing, in that perfect job or whatever is going to give me this 10 of cups, something that makes me happy, that makes me emotionally fulfilled, right? That's what I'm going to hold up for. I'm not going to listen to worm tongue. This is worm tongue going, right? Maybe not going completely, but getting smaller and smaller, like there, right? You can't even see him, right? And then leadership. And this is an awesome gift. And this is the really quick way to grow and evolve, is whatever your problem is, you help other people with that same problem, right? You go out and help somebody else. And sometimes it just takes a prayer, like who really needs my help right now? And a face will come, flash through your third eye, or right, some kind of knowingness that it's this person, and then you reach out and then you help them. And by helping someone else, you help yourself. That's what this is saying. Yeah. And it's going to be around money, right? Okay. Let's see here. I think that's it for the second house. Yeah, and that's a big test, right? Like I talked about before, getting tested on money issues. Okay, that goes here. That goes here. Okay, and then we've got Cancer. I learned from all the signs, yeah. So Ginger said is spot on for your Gemini self, yeah. So just to trust. And as soon as you make that commitment, I mean, I did that when I was finding a home. And I had people like, you know, because there's so much competition here on the island for a home, especially where I want to live, right? And I had all the people around me, right, playing the part of the ego and the fear. Well, you need to grab that. What do you mean you refuse that? And it's like, and I would say, well, it just didn't feel right to me. You know, when you walk into a place and you feel contracted and the mind is like, you better take it. And then, right, being able to see the trajectory, it's like, I would be miserable here. I would not be happy. Where you're already planning, like, well, I would spend more time out than here. I'm a homebody, right? Me. And I work from home too. And it's like, no, I'm going to trust and I'm going to wait. And I had to refuse a few places. And then the right place arrived, right? So that's this gift of restraint. But don't think that you're not going to be tested, right? With everybody else projecting their stress and fear on you, you know, to not stay in your core, in your center, and trust in God, trust in the divine, right? And for me, there was coordination that had to happen, right? Where this person moved out and circumstances came up for them, but it came through, but it comes with the commitment. No, this is what I want. This is what I want. I'm not going to compromise. And remember, that's one of my main shadow patterns that I have to work with is compromise. So I know that really well, the last video. So commit, Gemini, commit to that of knowing your worth. Okay, so Cancer, of course, it's Cancer's show. It's in your first house, right? So they get the shadow of stress in your first house. And then where's the turbulences in your 9? Probably 12, 11, 10, 9. Yeah, it's in your 9th house. So there could have been legal stuff, because the 9th house rules legal stuff that could be coming through. This emotions, these are repressed emotions. In your spirituality, There can become, and your spiritual teacher too, if you have a spiritual teacher. Anyway, let's stick with this, with the restraint in your first house. So this is your body and how you show up in the world. In stress. So there could be stress around your body and your appearance too. You can look at it like that. There can be restlessness around that. Wanting to change, like wanting to change your appearance, but it's not working. Let's do a card and I'll get the full picture here for Cancer in the first house. Stressed out. You may be showing up as a stressed out person in the world. Not a good look if you're a healer or a yoga teacher to be showing up stressed. I always thought, because driving's my big thing, right? Oh, that's funny, because 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's right. I'm a Taurus sun, so that's funny because the third house is the car and driving, and that's where stress it gets expressed for me, because it's about having patience, right? This gift of restraint. And I would like be going to teach a class, right? A yoga and meditation class, and I'd have to catch myself. It's like I can't be like this crazy impatient person in the car, like. Right? What if one of the students saw me? Oh, that's my yoga teacher there yelling and screaming in traffic. So it was really a test, right? When you go teach, it's like you got to hold that frequency even when you're traveling towards that. Oh, that's funny. It's in my third house. Yeah. That there's divine timing for everything, even when you arrive, right? You arrive at the perfect time for everybody. Okay, what's for Cancer? What's the ego telling Cancer about this? Oh, that's funny. So Cancer got guilt. So we've got stressed out and we've got guilt for Cancer. So Cancer's got some guilt. See another card when you get the fuller picture here for Cancer. So, like I said before, like natural guilt is your consciousness letting you know that you made a mistake and that you need to maybe make amends, an apology to somebody. It's no big deal. But the ego turns it into like there's something broken about you, right? You should be stressed out about this guilt that you're feeling. So something about the past, right? That's what guilt is. If it's like, I'm not talking about like natural guilt. And then you got the Four of Pentacles. So that's the guy who's clinging to his piggy bank. Clinging and scarcity consciousness and control. Yeah. For Cancer. And then turbulence in the 9th house. So this is about your belief systems too. With that, I feel like it's your emotions, like your relationship with your emotions in the 9th house. What you believe. Somehow you have guilt around being emotional, showing any kind of emotional. Because this is like a repression card too, the Four of Pentacles. And it's clinging to something. It's clinging to an old identity. That's what it is for Cancer. You're clinging to an old identity. That's what it is. We're going through huge transformational times. Like people have to really drop these old identities of who you think you are. Because it's the 9th house. I believe that I'm this. Maybe I believe that I'm spiritually evolved. Right? There's nothing else for me to learn, right? Ninth house is all about expansion, expanding your awareness, learning new things. We never stop learning, especially if you're a teacher, Cancer. A good teacher is a good student, right? A good student is a good teacher. It works both ways. So that's what I see. It's like you're clinging to some old identity that wants to go, right? Some mask that you're wearing out in the world that you've got it all together. And I feel like this guilt, is showing you something, right? And the ego is using it. Deep down, you know that you're playing a role, that you're being fake, that you're being a fake, right? That you're wearing some kind of mask that you're clinging onto. And this is the ego is using this guilt, right? That you're feeling. Because the guilt, the natural guilt is I need to make a correction, right? Like feeling the guilty, like, oh, I wasn't really authentic, right? With that person, right? I was trying to hold on to this old role that's not really me anymore. Maybe it was you at one time, but you've outgrown it. It's time to let it go, Cancer. And it's stressing you out, right? It's totally stressing you out or keeping you stuck from growing, and this pressure, it's coming from the root chakra down there. It's a pressure to evolve. That's what it is. But if it gets stuck in shadow frequency, then it's going to be experienced as stress, right? So you want to restrain. The gift of restraint is to not express this role anymore. That's where you have to use restraint. So I'm not going to express this role anymore. And you're going to catch yourself, right? That turbulence is going to show you those emotions coming through the ninth house, We can't be fake anymore. We can't hide behind roles and masks anymore for the Aquarian age. Because people, you can play the role all you want, but you're going to be seen. When you know you're seen, you can feel really vulnerable. That's the shadow of turbulence. You can feel really, really vulnerable. But we're all going to be in that place, right? Our auras don't lie. You can be doing tons of lying with your mouth, but your aura is not going to lie. Especially if you're really on the spiritual journey in the path. That's what this is letting go of, and your guilt is showing you, right? There's guilt that's showing you, but don't let the ego hijack it, There's somehow you made a mistake playing this role, and you're trying to cling on to the role, right? That's what I see there. But let's look at the gift underneath there. And it's about control, right? Trying to control because you're afraid of those emotions. For the Cancers. Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Okay. What's for Cancer? Gift for Cancer. That will really help Cancer. What will help Cancer? This one. Yeah. So it's about material scarcity too, right? The Four of Pentacles. So the gift is be present, right? To be present. So this is calling, because when we're in a role, we're not present when we're in a role. We're in a mental concept, a mental image of who we think we are. That's created by the ego. Wormtongue's created this whole image of you. Right? He's telling you who you are, which is not true. Because you're beyond the roles, even if you play the role of a wife or a mother or father, a teacher, you're beyond those roles, right? You're bigger than those roles. So as soon as you're in a role, you're in your head, right? I should say this. Let's say you're in a role of spiritual teacher, let's say, right, Cancer? Then it's like, well, a spiritual teacher can't laugh, right? That's like a big one. Like, can't laugh, and it has to be serious, right? A spiritual teacher can't talk about sex or make a naughty joke, right? A spiritual teacher can't do this, can't dress this way, can't do... And where's it coming from? It's not coming from your higher self, rules and regulations. It's coming from this. Worm tongue is telling you what a spiritual teacher is, whatever role that you're in. And then you're not present because you're in your head. As soon as you're in your head, you're not in your body and you're not in the present moment, right? So this is, because it goes with this Four of Pentacles, and this is all about scarcity consciousness. It's to connect it with money too, right? That I have to be in this role. People won't pay me money if I'm just myself, you know? It's like a lack of self-value, and now I've got to be in complete control. And it's about the future. Whenever we're worrying about money, we're worrying about the future. Because if you bring yourself in the present moment, you always have what you need, right? Always. You have what you need in the present moment. This is about future. So you've got to be present and not think of future. We have to even let go of that, like this whole notion of time, because we're coming more and more into the present moment, Cancer, right? And I'm happy. Why are you happy? Because I have no future. There's no future for me. I'm just in the present moment. And then you let whatever comes to you. This is creativity. As a teacher, let's go back to this role of as a teacher, and then you let whatever comes through you in the moment, in the present moment, and then you're authentic. And then right? These roles are so constraining, Cancer. And the thing is that we're going to be rewarded to be our authentic self. We have to be our authentic self for the Aquarian age. That's where our true power is your authenticity, and it's connected to your soul, Cancer. That's what I see. Don't be ignoring these emotions that are coming up this month, right? And really drop these roles. Just drop them. Completely drop them. And you'll be rewarded for being your authentic self, you know? And more in the present moment. That's a good one for Cancer. Okay. There we go. We got the Leos. The Leo, the lion. So the new moon in the shadow of restraint is in the 12th house for Leo. And that gift of shadow of stress and the gift of restraint and stillness in the 12th house. Okay. And then turbulence, it's probably in the 8th. Right? 12, 11, 10, 9. Yeah, it's in the 8th. Turbulence in the 8th house. Holy smoly. So the 8th house is where all the traumas are, and all the things that we don't want to deal with, right? The shadow. So there's stuff coming out of left field. This is forces beyond our control. It's saying to have compassion for yourself, compassion for others, especially the others that you're in a sexual relationship with or married. And then the 52, the restraint in the 12th house. The restraint in the 12th house. The restraint in the 12th house. So there can be stress coming out of nowhere from the 12th house. Just like, where's this coming from? It could be coming from your past lives. You know? It's about time too, right? The 52 is about time. Time running out. Time's running out. Time's running out quickly. You got to get a move on. You got to get a move on. This all could be coming from your past lives. And it's also the house of spirituality too. You know, let's do the cards, and then we'll get a fuller picture here, because the 12th house is so vast, you know. And it's the end of a cycle whenever we get to the 12th house. So you may be feeling stuck. Maybe you've been in a cycle of isolation because it isolates. The 12th house is about isolation, being a hermit. You may be finishing up with that role. That could be creating stress because we're attuned to, if we go deep, like after meditation and stuff, and you can feel what's coming, right? The universe always gives us a heads up of what's coming. There can be a little bit of stress there. And then the restraint is just trusting the divine timing of things, of when you'll be released out of that hermit cycle. It's also the house of addictions, Leo. So using addictions to escape, that way you use that to get rid of the stress. Okay. What's the card for Leo? It's that one hiding right there. Oh. So this is a shamanic test. The shamanic test card. So this is about dying to your old self, which makes sense because it's in the 12th house. And it's a challenge that was created by your soul. So, yeah, this is all about your spiritual enlightenment, right? Your ascension. So you're in a shamanic test, which means that your soul has created this test for you, and it echoes back to your past lives, right? So there can be a lot of pain and pressure. So there could be this sensation of stress coming from your unconscious, that you failed in past lives, And just because it's in the 12th house, right? It's all about your past lives, all about your spiritual journey, right? And this can be coming from the unconscious. So it can bring up a lot of pain, right? So it's telling me, let's do another card here, is to trust. Maybe that's your lesson in this lifetime, is to trust. Is to trust. Have full faith in the divine. And it's about dying to your old self, right? The shamanic death. Jiwan Mukti, right? Dead while alive. That you're this phoenix rising from the flames. Right? So you can feel uncomfortable going through a shamanic test. And just that you've got the 36 and the 8th house too, right? Just emotions. Like it's having compassion for yourself going through this shamanic test. What do we have for Leo for the shamanic test here? What's the card for Leo? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to take that one too. So you got the Hermit, right? So that's about spiritual illumination. That's about spending time. That's about going within for your answers, for your light. The traditional tarot, right, has the wizard with the little lantern. This is about becoming a light onto yourself, you know. And then you've got the Knight of Cups, and that's about emotions, right? So I see it's like a I see. It's like you're transitioning, right? You're going through a huge transition with the 12th house, and you're moving out of this hermit, right, into the Knight of Cups, right? Who look completely like the Knight of Cups is in the world, you know? The Knight of Cups is charming, right? It's the romantic. It's the wants emotional connection. This is about people. Knight of Cups needs to be around people, right? Needs to be around people. This doesn't mean he's Mr. Suave, but he's, you know, because you can have romance is just an emotional connection. It's emotional attraction to people. It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual, right? Romantic. It's an emotional attraction. So this is like telling me that Leo's gone through this, that you're coming to an end with this new moon cycle, right? And so it's to restrain, because part of you is like knows you're going over here to the Knight of Cups, but you've got to stay in the Hermit, you know? I know this with the last JLB I had. I think I talked about this before. It was like a creative director, and I did that for 5 or 6 years. I think I did 5 or 6 festivals, and I knew I was going, like I could see, like this is where I'm headed, like Kundalini yoga teacher, right? And then that pathway, but then I had one leg here still in this JOB, you know, and feeling that restlessness. It's like, I know I'm going over there. Why can't I go over there now? You know, that impatience. So that's what this is saying. But I had to wait, right? The gift of restraint is to wait, and then wait for the correct divine timing, and then you're released, right? But you don't decide when you're released. Your mind and your ego don't decide. You know, no matter what you do, you can't get out of that contract. You know, you're there. So you might as well be present there. So this is saying that you're still in the Hermit, right? So just let yourself be in the Hermit for this next new moon cycle, and to restrain yourself that this is coming, right? That you're going to be released into this new energy. Yeah. But it's not like you lose the Hermit. You don't lose all that inner wisdom and personal truth and spiritual illumination, but you're bringing it out into the world. It's like the monk is being released, right? From all those years and years of solitude. And that's the shamanic test, is you're dying to the old self. So this is the challenge to your soul, is to really go into that space of surrender, right? Surrendering into this transformation, like you're in the cocoon, right? You're becoming the little butterfly, the Knight of Cups. Let's see what the gift is here. Oh, that's awesome. But it's going to bring emotions, right, from your past lives. Maybe you spent many, many past lives as a hermit, but you never got the lesson. You know, that's the shamanic test. You didn't allow yourself to go through that deep transformation. And it also has to do with other people too, right? Like past life connections with other people. It's to be taking the high road, have compassion, not lashing out at people, not getting impatient with people. Okay. And setting your intention, because I'm just thinking about intentions, right? Because we're setting seeds for the new moon cycle. Because it's a house of spirituality. Like, what do you want for your spiritual journey in this lifetime? It has to be new and fresh, right? It's the Aquarian age. Gone are the days of the priests and the monks and the gurus. It's like, this is it's all about self-mastery now. Right? And aligning yourself with the seed that's already been implanted in you before you incarnate it too, of what that's going to look like. The new spiritual teacher, right, in the Aquarian age. Okay, what's the gift for Leo? It's this one here. Oh, it's self-love. So that fits with the Knight of Cups. You got to be the Knight of Cups to yourself first. So the shamanic test is to love yourself, right? It's about loving yourself unconditionally, right? There can be a lot of judgment that comes with this, like with cancer, right? Yeah. So loving yourself, that's the test. Yeah. Because that's a no-no, right? On the spiritual journey, that's like seen as selfish. You're being selfish, that's ego. But it's not. That's the lie that the ego tells you. Right? Because when you love yourself, you love all selves, right? You've got to receive the gift first, right? You've got to receive that gift of love first, and then you can share it with others. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome for Leo. That is awesome for Leos. Any Leos out there? I know there must be a Leo or two here. Yeah. Okay. And if anybody can teach self-love, right, it's the Leos, the Leo rising sun or moon. Yeah. Okay. I so love that. Okay. I just feel that just opened up a world for me, that one. Okay. So where are we now? Those crazy Virgos. No. Here we go, Virgo. The Virgos. Have you ever been to a Virgo's house? A Virgo sun, moon, or rising? I love going to Virgo's houses. Everything's so orderly. Okay. Let's see. Leo moon, Ginger. Can you relate to the shamanic test, Ginger? Let's go Virgo. Okay. Oh, Shema is a Leo. I see the lion stars. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love the Virgos. Okay, so where are we now with Virgo? They are in the 11th house. So the shadow of stress in their 11th house. And then turbulence is probably in the 7th. Yeah, it's in the 7th house. So there can be turbulence around their marriage partner, their partnership. Lots of emotions coming from the partner, right? From the partner to the Virgos. So to be aware of that, to not be projecting on your partner, right? Let them have their emotional experience, the partners. Because the Virgos want to fix, Virgos want to fix. They want to fix everything. And sometimes you got to let your partner just have their experience, Have their experience. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you, So the 11th house, there can be stress around their friendships. Stress around their friendships. Maybe they feel stuck in their friendships, restless, that they're not attracting those emotionally fulfilling friends. Let's see, let's do some cards so we can zone in on this. Okay. I know, I love Virgos too. Jen Goodwin, Virgo moon single, but giving others space. Yeah. Well, the 7th house, Jen, can be other people too, right? You may experience some turbulence around you. Okay, what's for the Virgos? Okay, that's the gift. What's for the Virgos in their 11th house? Yeah, maybe giving their friends space. That fits with you, Jen Goodwin. Just restraining yourself from jumping in, trying to help them, or telling them what you think they should be doing. Because Virgos like to fix. Okay. What's for Virgo? What's the ego telling Virgo? That's interesting. Let's see what the card is. So you got the betrayal card for Virgo. Feeling betrayed by your friends. Maybe they're good time Charlie friends, right? They only call you when they're happy, or foul weather friends where they call you when they need your help. It's also too, because with the shadow, the mind can make up stories, especially silence. You know, with silence, maybe you're not hearing from your friends. You don't know what's going on with them. The mind can make up stories about they've betrayed you. They're talking behind your back. They're doing this. They're doing that. Ego, right? And what's conflict? And it may or may not be true. Okay, what's the card for, what's the card that goes with Virgo here? Yeah. Okay. It's a 7 of Cups, so it could be like friends that have addictions too, right? The 7 of Cups is like alcohol addiction. And it's confusion, illusion, choices, fantasy. Feeling betrayed. There may just be confusion around your friends right now. And not to step in, right? With confusion, just let it sit. And all will be known, right? The truth, you can't hold down the truth. All will be known eventually. Yeah. And then the King of Cups, right? So that's about being emotionally healthy, being emotionally balanced, but still compassionate towards your friends. Yeah, this new moon, you may get some information about your friendships that's going to make sense to you. And it's also about choosing. This I'm also thinking too, with the 7 of Cups, you may find out, you may find out that you've been betrayed by a friend. This confusion, because Neptune, right, is going into retrograde. So the illusion, this is like a Neptunian card, the 7 of Cups. And that you possibly may find out that a friend has betrayed you, right, in this next month. And then the King of Cups is to say to have compassion, right? To not go into restlessness, not go into stress, a state of stress that I've got to do something about this, right? Because the ego will want you to act on it. And then it's also saying betrayal is self-betrayal. Whenever we experience betrayal, we see on the external, it's actually showing us that we're betraying ourselves, because our relationship with other people, humans, it's a reflection of our relationship with our higher self. Yeah. Yeah. Let's do the gift with the Virgos. And you got the gift of compassion, right, with the 36 in your 7th house and humanity. I just feel like you're going to get tested this month, Virgo. Because this is for the month, right? And if you don't have the full picture, don't act, right? Don't listen to the ego that's like making up stories and then you believe that it's true. It's just like, just wait, right? It's restraint. And my thing is always assume the best in people. Always assume the best in people. Don't go to the worst. That's what I'm seeing here. You know, people are going to the worst and listening to the ego. And it's around your friendships, Virgo. Okay, what's the gift for Virgo here? Protection. It's called protection. So the gift is protection, that you have divine protection. Right? So a friend isn't, if you find out a friend is like not a friend and they've been gossiping about you or backstabbing you, that you can feel unprotected, you know? The opposite of that. But just to know when you're connected to the divine, right? When you're in your divinity, of course, no one can touch you, like Teflon, right? You've got a Teflon aura that you're protected, that you're divinely protected. No one ultimately can hurt you. Like, sure, they can hurt your body, right? If we want to go to the extreme, but they can't touch the essence of who you are, because that's indestructible. That was never born and will never die. Yeah. So there could be a test coming up for the Virgos. That's what I see. And to take the high road. Yeah. No, just for the sun, moon, and rising for Virgo. But check it out, Shireen. This week, this month. Betrayal from the friends. You know, we have these soul contracts with people that they agree that they'll play the role of the betrayer for you in this lifetime so that you can open your heart. It's all about opening up our hearts and feeling that hurt, right? And the betrayal goes right back to childhood when we were betrayed by a parent, you know, so that we can release that energy. And it's best not to take these things personally, right? The ego wants you to take everything personally, you know? If you look back at the times that you were hurt in your lifetime, they're blessings. Honestly, now that you look back at, now that you licked your wounds and you're healed, it's like, oh, I'm so happy that I went through that because it shattered my heart open, you know? Okay. We're for Libra now. We're not in Aquarius yet. We're coming up to it though. A couple more. So Libra is in the 10th, right? 12, 11, 10, yeah. So the gift of restraint in the shadow of stress in the 10th house. So this is about your vocation, right? It's about your work that you do. And so you may be feeling stuck and restless in your work. And again, have that patience, right? It's all divine timing. If you're looking for another job or you're worried that you're going to lose your job, just to go into that space of trust and don't listen to the ego that wants you prematurely taking action that may not be correct for you. Okay, let's do the cards so we can zone in here. And there's turbulence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's in the 6th house, so it's about your work. So turbulence about what you do. And you may be called to expand. Maybe you need to go to a new post, right? The divine's got you up for a new post. It's time for you to move on. Okay, what's for Libra? What's the ego saying to Libra? Oh. So Libra's got anger. Libra's not so good with anger. Libra. Libra's rising moon and sun. So there can be anger around your vocation and the work that you do. And it's around a power struggle, some kind of power struggle. So you could have a power struggle with your supervisor. And really that's coming from a power struggle with your father, because that's the father, the house of the father. And anger is often a misunderstanding, like I talked about before. And that goes back to 8 to 14 years old, back to your childhood, where you form this belief, right? You form some kind of belief from 8 to 14 years old, and that's how you see the world. And you may be called to let that go, you know? That all men in authority are this way. They're like my father or my stepfather, right? They're abusive and exploitive and whatever your trip is. You may be called to let that go. So this is a conflict in the mind, right? The anger is the conflict in the mind. One part of your mind wants to go this way, and another part wants to cling, right? I want to cling to this job. And then the other part is like, I want to move forward on this. I'm hearing like I have to be right? I have to be right. I have to prove that I'm right. Even if it kills me. Okay. So any conflict that you're having with outside, you know, with an outside person, it's just showing you that the conflict is really going on inside you. Where's the card for Libra? Oh, that's interesting. So it's the Two of Cups. Okay, so Two of Cups. So that's soulmate, divine union. So this makes it more intense for Libra. Where it's in the 10th house, too. So a father figure. What I'm feeling is that there's some projection going on just with this anger that needs to go so that you can see clearly. Let's do the other card. Yeah, the conflict may have to do with your relationship. But then it's at the workplace. Your relationship in the workplace. And there's a power struggle with it. Let's see here. So Jen Goodwin's got 29 degrees Libra. Definitely looking for a new career. What about the relationship part? The Two of Cups. Maybe it's the conflict between your current new career and then love. There could be a conflict there. That you believe that you can only have one or the other. Love or career. Okay. What's the gift for Libras? What's the gift for Libra? That one. So it says choose love. Okay, it says choose love. It's pretty obvious then. Choose love. And get to God, everything gets to you, right? Choose love. So it's saying choose the Two of Cups. So maybe this is saying this new moon cycle that love's coming to you, Libra and Jen Goodwin. And to choose that, right? But there's this conflict in the mind, right? The either or, but you can have it all. You can have it all. So it's saying to restrain, right? Looking for a new career is to trust, not just grab anything. 2. And so there can be anger coming up, right? In your mind. Of like, I've got to grab this. I have to grab this. Yeah. But it's also saying not to let this go. You know? The 2 of Cups, if it hasn't arrived for you yet, Libra, is to not let that go either. It's just to choose love. To choose love. Yeah. Okay. That's for Libra. Yeah, trust the career is coming. And the 6th house turbulence is going to show you if you're enjoying what you're doing or not, you know? Yeah, choose love. Choose love. Okay, let's go for Scorpio. The Scorpions. Where's Scorpio? They're going to be in the 9th house. So Scorpio's got the shadow of stress in the 9th house. New moon in Cancer, heading for the new cycle of experience. And it's the gift of restraint. So this is about your spirituality, Scorpio. Right? Maybe you're feeling stress about your spiritual path. Maybe you're feeling stress about what you're seeing out in the world and the stories you're telling yourself about your life. You know, it's time to drop that. It's time to issue some restraint that what you want, you desire, also desires you, right? That's coming to you with that position. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got turbulence around your children, right? Around your romantic life. You've got a lot of emotions being released there. In the 5th house. And let's do the card. We'll get the fuller picture, yeah. And I feel like there's a switcheroo around your spiritual path. Okay. Okay, what's for Scorpio? Similar to the Cancer. So you got roles. So playing a role. So you could be a teacher, right? Because it's the 9th house. Playing the role of a mother. Because it's connected to the 5th house. So overly attached to your role as mother. And remember what we said about children. Right? Because a mother goes through so much transformation. Raising a child, as the child grows and develops, she has to grow and develop too, and to let go. And to let go. Maybe there's a letting go that's happening that's bringing up a lot of emotions for you. What's the card for Scorpio and roles? So similar to Cancer. Okay. Oh. The Judgment card. You can see that's a phone. The answer or decline. This is the call of the soul. So this is a spiritual calling for you, Scorpio. This is rebirth card. This is major arcana. It's big. And higher self, right? This is about your soul purpose. Higher self, soul purpose that's calling you. Yeah. So it's about letting go of any roles that you've got yourself into, right? Any identifications that you have. It's time to let those go and answer the call of your soul, right? For now. And this is going to expand, right? This is expanding your awareness and your perception of the world. That's my next door neighbor. I don't know if you can hear that. She's talking about anger. Okay, so Scorpio, letting go of the roles so you can answer the call of the soul. And I really feel it's connected to your children, right? If you're a mother, or any roles that you've caught yourself in, right? Especially if you're a spiritual teacher yourself. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what the gift is here. Because we take on these roles and they go right back to childhood, right? These roles. So there's the family. I talk about this in my inner child program. Anger is in the air tonight, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's another story I'll have to tell you sometime about the next door neighbor. Okay. Anyway, where's my thought here with roles? So childhood roles that we can take on. So we believe that it's ourselves, right? We leave our center as children because we want to heal our family, and help out our family and keep the family dynamic in harmony. So often we sacrifice ourselves, but it's not us, like sacrifice our authentic self. And then we stay in these roles well into adulthood. We think that that's us. So for Scorpio, I feel like you're getting the call, right? Are you going to answer it or not? And to answer the call means to let go of this, right? Let go of this role. That's not you. Okay. Okay. Let's do, and so it has to do with your past lives. A role that you played in your past life. Ninth house, right? That's spirituality. That's religion. Like 12th is a spiritual house, but 9 is religion. So there's always fear, right, when we answer the call of our soul, because it brings up DNA memory of what it meant to answer the call of our soul, meant to leave our family, leave our community, and to go off and become a renunciate. So it can bring fears like that. But things are different now in the Aquarian age, right? We have to, as spiritual people, we have to be with everybody, with the people. Okay, what's the gift here for Scorpio? Choose love. Another one. I think that's a gift for everybody. Choose love. It's just about choosing love. So choosing to me is like to answer the call of your soul is really to choose love, right? It's because you're choosing self-love, right? Self-love is really loving your soul, And so you're choosing to answer this call. You're choosing to love yourself. You're choosing love when you choose your soul purpose, and to expand and to let go of these roles, right? To let go of these roles from your past lives. They can go back to your past lives. Yeah. Whatever they are. You'll know when it's a role. Here's a hot tip. You'll know that it's a role when you keep doing the same things. Like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm a good person. This is what I do. This is the role that I've been in. But nothing's working in your life. That's when you know you're in a role. You're not being authentic. These are not going to be rewarded anymore. This fakeness, right? These masks that we wear, these roles that we think that we are, they're not going to be rewarded anymore in the Aquarian age. So that's what I see, Scorpio, is you're getting the call of the soul. Maybe you've already gotten it and you've been pressing the red, right? Decline, decline, decline. It's time to press the green one, right? And answer the call. Yeah. And everybody wants you to do that, Scorpio. Yeah. Scorpios like to go deep and they're interested in truth. And this is not truth. Roles, not the truth of who you are. Okay. So that, and that. And then let's go for Sagittarius. And they are probably the 8th, right? Sagittarius. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. So Sagittarius has the shadow of stress in the 8th house and the gift of restraint and stillness in the 8th house. So there can be stress around shared resources with people, right? There can be stress around taxes, right? Other people's money, an inheritance, something like that. You may be going through, feeling stress. And the ego is telling you to take action, to take some kind of action. And whenever you're operating from the ego, it's not inspired. It's not inspired action, so it's not true. It's not coming from your feminine. It's coming from the mind, right? It's coming from the ego, and it's not going to end up well for you. So it's the issue restraint, like trust in the divine timing, right? What's meant for you won't pass you by, right? What's meant for you won't pass you by. What's destined for you is not going to miss you, right? It's like headed right for you. And to trust that everything is in its own divine timing, you know? Not the timing of the mind and the ego, right? So to trust that, those cycles. And that you're not stuck, right? The stuckness is just an illusion that you're stuck. There's lots going on, like the carrots, right? There's lots going on under the surface that you can't see. Okay, let's see what the card is for Scorpio, or Sagittarius, sorry. Sagittarius. In the 8th house. Okay, one's for Sagittarius. The 8th house. One's for Sagittarius in the 8th house. What's for Sagittarius in the 8th house? Sagittarius in the 8th house. Sagittarius got guilt too. The same as Cancer. You may have a connection with Cancer. So there could be guilt coming up in the 8th house. That's totally normal. Let's see what the other card is here. And restrain. So not acting from guilt. Because this is a thing too, right? We'd like to compensate. Guilt is really driving us because we want to pay off that guilt. We want to pay off the guilt. Right? And then the ego is telling you, well, you got to do this and then you'll pay off the guilt. You want to be in control of like, oh, I paid off my guilt. But it never ends, right? It's trying to escape from that feeling of guilt, Sagittarius, coming from your 8th house. Making you restless, right? That shadow of restlessness. So it's important to go to the origins of the guilt. You don't need the story of why do I feel guilty. I need the picture, the surround sound, IMAX theater version of it. It's like all you have to do is feel it. It's a shadow, right? The 8th house is the house of the shadow. Just forgiveness, right? That's the medicine. There's another one, the King of Swords. The King of Swords and guilt. So this is the medicine, is to have the detachment from the feelings, right? There we go. So detach yourself from the feelings. And that comes through meditation, right? To get into this space, Sagittarius, right? Of up here. And then just to look at it, right? It's almost like you see it, it gets really, really small, like ego there. You're able to look at it from a detached, because in this way, there's the guilt can kind of take over and then you want to act from it. This puts you more in a good place. I mean, this is your place of power, right? Yeah. It's also saying the King of Swords too, Sagittarius, because that's experts. So you may be called to like reach out for help, maybe to a therapist or someone you trust to get some help with these feelings of guilt, you know, and to let them go. And ultimately, it's hard, it's difficult, right? Because when it's coming from your past life, you've got no idea where it's coming from. Maybe this lifetime, you have no idea where this guilt is coming from. It's just to let it go. Like just, you know, putting that prayer out to please forgive me for any harm that I've done to myself and others. Yeah. And the Ho'oponopono prayer is really good too. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Over and over again every day. That helps to let it go too. But the King of Swords is saying not to, like, you know, not to take it on. Certainly not to make your decisions from a place of guilt. Because you'll never pay it off. And you'll attract people that are just like black holes. You'll do things, you know, you can never give them enough. You know what I mean? That's because it's not coming from a true place. Your giving's not coming from a true place. You're trying to pay off guilt so you can feel better about yourself, right? That's the ego trip. So let's see what the gift is for the guilt. Okay. Sagittarius. There we go. It's a really quiet neighborhood here, except she has some mental health issues. This woman, she never acts out usually when I'm doing readings or live streams. But she's like a barometer for the energy, I find. And that's the thing with anger. Like people just want to stay in that state of anger because they feel like they're in control. But you never get to the depth, right, of what's underneath that anger, which is a big cry. That's all I hear in her voice. She needs a big cry. Okay, let's see what the gift is for Sagittarius. Okay. So it's on learning. It's on learning or learning. So it's about learning, right? In the 8th house, something is about learning, right? The guilt, really guilt is like I made a mistake, and then it's about learning. Not using the ego to make a big, blow it out of proportion, but what can I learn from that? That mistake I made. That's all the guilt is showing you, that you made some kind of mistake, you made an error. But the ego won't let you learn. The ego will never say that to you, you know? The ego will never sweet talk you and say, oh, that's okay. You know, you made a mistake and now you're going to learn from it. You're going to correct. No, it's going to make a big deal about it, that you're going to be punished And this is what's going to happen to you, and that's what's going to happen to you, and this is all goes in the subconscious mind. And then the fear, and it's like, I've got to pay. And then the ego is like, well, you got to pay the guilt off, right? You got to do this for this person and that for this person. You completely go into sacrifice, but it never gets rid of the guilt, right? Until you forgive yourself. I forgive myself. I'm learning. I'm human. I make mistakes, right? And that's bringing in the King of Swords. Yeah. Just to make it into a factual thing, you know, that we're human. We make mistakes. Especially if you're a third line. Somebody mentioned that in the comment section in the video. I didn't reply to it yet in the last video. That if you're a third line profile, you know, right there, 52.4, if you've got a 3 there or a 6 or a 3 or 6 on the other end, you guys really need to learn that, right? The third lines are designed to make mistakes, but they're not mistakes, they're discoveries. And it's all about learning, right? We're in Earth School, we're learning, right? And the third lines, or the 6 lines, because the 6 lines go through this too, they do seem to make a lot of mistakes, but they're designed to, so they can share what they learned with us, right? Okay. Let's go to Capricorn. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Capricorn's going to have some emotional release, emotional flooding in the 3rd house. That's also siblings. The 3rd house is also siblings. So needing some compassion for their relationship with their siblings. So there could be intense emotions that you've been repressing, Capricorn, in relationship to your siblings. Also with your communication, there can be, you know, when we're first starting to do emotional work, that it can get messy sometimes when we're trying to express our emotions. This is about expression of your emotions, you know. It can feel overwhelming. Just a sec. Are you guys hearing this? I'm not sure or not. I can hear it because my microphone is loud. Okay, let's stay focused here. This is a good test for me. So, okay, I know what I wanted to say. So when we're first learning how to express our emotions, because Capricorns are learning that, right? They're very good at repressing their emotions and controlling their emotions, and they've got that turbulence in the 3rd house, is to express emotionally can get messy sometimes, right? Capricorns like to be in control, right? Your voice starts to shake a little bit. You get restless, you know, that restlessness inside your body. And maybe you're not as articulate as your mind and your ego want you to be, but you're getting at the truth. Sometimes you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet, right? You just have to get messy, but it's getting the emotional truth. It's getting to the truth, right? And with practice, you guys can hear the neighbors. She's up. She's never gone this long before, and I don't like her vocal cords are like so strained. Yeah, but she's in touch with this anger, right? When this Neptune goes, holy smokes. I'm not sure. I want to get her chart actually to learn from it. But she's got the reddest face, right? It's like she's like Yosemite Sam, the hothead. Okay, so Capricorn with their siblings, so making amends with siblings, having compassion with your siblings, because they're really our second most relationship to our parents. They have a huge influence on us siblings, you know. Either they're older or younger than you. And if you've got issues with your, there's the family within us, right? If you've got issues with your sister, that means if you have issues like in conflict with your sister, problems with your sister, if you have a sister, then you've got emotional problems. It means it's showing you that you've got emotional blocks. If it's your brother, it means you're not happy with where you are right now. You're not accepting the spiritual lesson that's up in your face. You know, father issues, it's like prosperity issues, career issues, mother issues, problems with mother, that's overall relationships, and not able to nurture yourself, right? It always points you back to you, right? So I would look at that, Capricorn, that you got to really start forming a relationship with your emotional body, like a real relationship with your emotional body. And the third house is saying that you're learning to communicate, right? From your heart, from your emotions, from your authentic self, you know? Oh, and of course they've got the new moon in their 7th house. So that's their partnerships, that's their relationships, right? So the shadow of stress in their 7th house, so there can be stress coming up around their marriage, their partnership if they're in one. And in the issue, this gift of restraint is to have patience with. So if the partner is showing signs of stress, right? There's stress around the partnership. It's just to wait, right? Issue that gift of restraint. Let the divine timing work on your partner. Not to go running, right? That's restlessness. Or feeling stuck too, right? Feeling that stuck is just like to just go deeper. And that can, like I talked about having a JOB, my last JOB, knowing that I'm going over here, but I'm still here. There can be that restlessness, right? So that could be like you, like I'm waiting for I know this relationship is ending. Maybe you're waiting for a divorce or something, right? But I know that I'm supposed to be over here. It's just the trust, right? Trust in the divine timing. And even the divine timing brings the right person to you at the right time, you know? For both parties. Yeah. Yeah. Shireen's saying sometimes we have to release toxic family ties to heal. Yes, but we never escape our families. I think that's a stepping stone. I had to do that with my own family. But as soon as I hear somebody saying, I never talk to my father or mother again, I'm done with them. It's like, you're not done with them. You just attract your mother and father in different bodies, right? Different names. You don't escape that frequency of your family. They're the big kahunas. And here's the thing, as you heal, right? As you commit to your own healing journey, you automatically heal your family. You may not even see them. You know, I didn't see my father for 15 years, and I just committed to my own healing, and then we reconnected in divine timing, and I don't recognize him. Didn't recognize him, right? It's because I just committed to my healing journey. So you don't escape them. And that's always a good sign. Like, what's your relationship with your family, you know? So if they're still toxic and stuff, it's like, okay, something's got to shift more in me, you know? Something has to shift more in me. And they can just be themselves, you know? But that's what I found in my experience. Like, my father and brother completely shifted and changed. And all I did was commit to my healing journey, like really committed to my healing journey. Not all new agey, light and love. Like, I did the work, right? I totally did the work. The sobbing, the crying, right? All the workshops, all the retreats, all of it. And then until you just forgot about it. Like, I just expected never to see my father again. I was shocked when I saw him, right? But he had changed so much. And still, I don't recognize him. Like, it's hard for me to resolve the father that I had as a young child to who he is now, you know? Yeah, they totally heal because we're connected to them through our DNA. Same with our siblings, right? But sometimes you got to leave. I had to make that choice. It's like, okay, looks like I'm doing this journey on my own of healing. What do we got for Capricorn? What's the ego telling Capricorn? What's the ego telling Capricorn? Yeah. Oh, betrayal. It's another repeat. Libra, I think, got this. Did Libra? Forget now. Betrayal. So feeling betrayed by your sibling. There could be a betrayal with your sibling. By your sibling. Your sister or your brother. Betrayal by your partner, because this is 7th house too. Feeling betrayed, not being able to get over that betrayal by your partner. And this is the thing, if we don't heal this in our present relationships, even if you know, like, I'm done with this person, right? They betrayed me. And then you jump into your next relationship and you haven't healed that betrayal, like feeling betrayed, then you're carrying that wound into the next relationship. And then you're going to expect this new partner to betray you. You know? You'll just expect it. And then you got your guard up, right? Your heart's closed because you haven't healed that wound. So it's about betraying yourself, right? If you have a partner who's betrayed you in some way, cheated on you, or, you know, presented himself as someone he's not, or she's not, it's just showing you that you're betraying yourself, right? Some party who's betrayed yourself with that. This is also this ego card of betrayal. It's about trusting your intuition. Because maybe you have a sense that this person's betrayed me, but I have an intuitive knowingness that this person's betrayed me, but I don't really have proof. But my intuition tells me, right? Keeps telling me this. Then you want to listen to your intuition, you know? And that everyone benefits when you follow your intuition, including your partner, even if that means you leave him or leave her. The partner benefits when you leave because you're releasing them into their destiny too, right? As you go into yours. Yeah, okay. So this is linked to a sibling too, this pattern of stress. And that, remember, you're never stuck. You're not stuck in this relationship. You just have to trust the divine timing. Okay, what's the card here for betrayal for Capricorn? Do we have a card for Capricorn? Capricorn is hiding. Hiding, Capricorn. Four of Swords. Four of Swords. Well, that fits with Restraint, right? It's about rest and recovery. It's about healing. Yeah, the Four of Swords. It's about reflecting on this. What I just said. Don't be dragging this into your new relationships. That's what I feel is going on for Capricorn, is they're leaving. They're leaving a relationship. Yeah. And they need time to heal. They need time to air out. A lot of people, they relationship hop. They just go from one relationship to the next. They never take time to reflect, right? So they carry in these traumas. And they wonder why. Why do I keep attracting the same people? Why do I keep experiencing the same thing? Well, because you need to heal, right? You need to heal these dynamics. So you're not dragging them into the next one. Okay, let's see what the gift is. It can be about obsessive thinking too, about this betrayal, that you've been betrayed, letting it overtake you. But to heal it, just go to self-betrayal. Where am I betraying myself? Always bring it back to the self, right? The ego wants you, right? Worm tongue totally wants you blaming other people. Other people. Use it. This person betrayed me. How am I betraying myself? This person's cruel to me. They're dominating me, bullying me. How am I bullying myself? Right? How am I bullying my intuition? How am I bullying my heart? My heart's telling me something and I'm bullying it with my mind and ego. Bring it back to the self, back to the self, back to the self. And then you heal that dynamic in yourself, and then you don't need to attract somebody that's going to come and betray you, right? You don't need to attract somebody that's going to bully you or not listen to you because you're not listening to your own intuition. You know? Nobody's a victim. Okay. You know, we teach others how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves. The way you treat yourself is how you teach others how to treat you. If somebody really respects themselves and they love themselves, they don't attract that. They don't attract those people. Or if they do, they're like, see ya, right? The person with self-love and self-value and self-respect, it's like, see ya, got no time for you. Okay, where's the gift here for Capricorn? Where's the gift for Capricorn? So Capricorn got gentleness and patience, got the double. Remember the last time they got like 3 ego cards because they're such hard workers. They got 2 loving cards. So they have to have patience, that's the restraint, and they've got to be gentle with themselves. And I feel like that goes with the shadow of turbulence in the 3rd house, learning how to communicate their emotions, right? Being gentle with themselves, right? And patient as they learn, especially if you've been conditioned, like most of us, not to express emotionally, that it's seen as weak or you were overlooked or talked over, whatever was going on in your family dynamics by a sibling, right? Because it's 3rd house. You got to bring that patience and gentleness with yourself as you learn to express emotionally. Yeah. And that's the power. You know, when you're speaking from the ego, to people, right? About how how angry you are at how they treat you, that's not going to get in. But when you're emotional, like in tune with your heart and your emotions, it's like a bullseye arrow that goes right to that person because you're in the frequency of truth, you know? With the ego, you're not in the frequency of truth at all. Right? At all. This is all about, I got to get back at that other person. I need revenge. I need the last word. I need them to pay. Right? And this is keeping you entangled in this relationship that you're in. You know? It's time to get real. It's time to get authentic. And that's learning to honor your emotional self. Right? Have patience and be gentle with yourself. Yeah. And restrain from reacting, right? Reacting to this partner, the 7th house partner. Okay. Let's see, there's some Capricorn on here. Okay. Yeah. That's true, Shaimat. We do choose the family we're born into, especially the mother. And it is to learn and grow and evolve as a soul, but also to help our family too, right? Yeah, it only takes one person to break the cycle. It only takes one person to say, I'm done with this dynamic. I'm not going to continue this down the generational line. Yeah, Jen Goodwin, Capricorns are hard on themselves. Yep. Because they got to get connected to their hearts. And Capricorn rising moon, in Sun, most beautiful things to see, right? The Capricorn connected to their heart, connected to the Cancer. That's why they're the Capricorn rising, right? They're so drawn to the Cancer type people because they want that. They want to learn about emotional nurturing, right? Emotionally nurturing themselves. Yeah. Romy is Capricorn rising. She can relate. Okay. And there we go. They're being gentle with themselves. Okay. Oh, we're at the last one. There we go, Aquarius. Aquarius. Turbulence in the second house. Lots of emotions coming up around the money, around the dollar, and around self-value. People not valuing you, you're not valuing yourself. So you want to have compassion, Aquarius. And this is the collective, right? We're dealing with this money stuff. There's going to be a lot of turbulence, lots of fear around money this new moon cycle. Because Neptune is taking off the masks, right? The illusion is lifting, the fog's lifting, and people are going to be looking around like, whoa, look what's going on this earth plane. And then the emotions coming up with that too, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Aquarius, rising moon or sun, has the shadow of stress in the 5th house. And then the gift of restraint and stillness. So stress around having fun, right? Having fun. Stress around their creativity, right? And that's the first thing to go, right? Is fun and healing when people are stressed by money. You know, that's the thing they pull away from the first, right? Okay, let's do the card for Aquarius. We'll see here. And it could be connected to their children too, Aquarius parents. Needing to issue some restraint around their children. Maybe they're worried about their children's future. We're in such a time of uncertainty. But you got to remember that these children that have come in, they're powerhouses. Like I see them at the park. You know? They're awesome warriors to be born during this time. Just to know that how strong they are energetically. They're still children, right? That need protection and everything, but they're, as souls, they're powerful. Okay. What is Aquarius? What is the ego telling Aquarius? Tell me what the ego is telling Aquarius. Oh, Aquarius, depression. Got the depression card. So that's anger turned inward. It's also about loss. Depression's about loss. Not wanting to lose something. It's the inner child too, right? The 5th house. Could be like a loss of innocence with this new moon cycle for Aquarius. And it's said that, I want to get this meditation up on my website soon, that the planet, because we're going through a great shift, right? We're not quite into the Aquarian age fully. We're not quite out of the Piscean age. That humanity would go through something called cold depression. A cold depression through all these changes. Because the spirit is taking over, right? The spirit is taking over. Our spiritual nature is taking over. And so they said most people on the planet wouldn't realize they were depressed. So that makes sense there in the 5th house. And that means the depression is you're frozen. Your soul is frozen. Right? You lose meaning, for like sense of meaning and purpose in your life. There's no flow, right? This is not the life force energy, the stuck, right? The shadow of stress, the stuckness. What's the card that goes with depression? And it's also anger turned inward that I talked about. Depression. Oh. So it's depression and temperance. Temperance. And I talked about this in the last video, this tarot card. So it's two hands. You can see the two hands and then the angel wings there. So this is about balance, right? It's about balancing. So needing balance with the fun and play and romance. That's the fifth house, ruled by Leo, right? Leo. Balanced with the second house, the turbulence with the money. I got to earn money. I got to earn money. You need to balance. You need to be patient. So this fits with the gift of restraint, is to be patient with this whole process. That's what we have to realize, right? As we go through this great shift of the ages, that we have to be patient with. You know, when you're watching the collective grow and evolve, you're watching a snail, right? You're watching the movement of a snail, that we have to be patient with people, right, as they grow and evolve. So this is about balancing your emotions, keeping your emotions balanced, not getting locked into the stress state, restlessness, or stuck in depression, right? Depression. And moderation too. Temperance is all about moderation. Yeah. So if you're depressed, because this is about loss too, we have loss, right? Life is not going to go back to normal. People are in a delusion if they think things are going to go back to normal. Like, we're not going back to where we were before. And it wasn't that great anyway, you know? We're moving into the new. So it's about letting that go. Like, this old way of life is going, right? It's really, really going. It's leaving. It's been prophesized for a long time. Let's see what the gift is here for Aquarius. Aquarius. But there can be stress. Yeah, so not to worry about your children. And not to feel guilty about, you know, having fun during this time. That clears the energetic field of consciousness, is humor and laughter. You know? Not feel guilty about that, because that's the fun house, the fifth house. Doesn't serve anybody to be all doom and gloom, no matter what's happening in the world. You know, and this woke culture wants us all serious, politically correct, and censoring ourselves. Right? That's not us, right? Fifth house is play. We're playful. We're creative beings. Right? That's getting locked in this victim consciousness. Truth. Truth. There we go. Capital T, truth. This is about honoring the truth. So to me, it's about honoring the truth of, this is where we are. This is where we find ourselves in this time and space on the planet, moving into the Aquarian age. This is the truth, right? And actually honoring the truth of where you are. I'm feeling depressed, right? To not go into denial about this. You know, I'm feeling depressed. And it's okay. Don't make it wrong. I'm depressed. I'm worried about the future. I feel stuck. I feel restless. Sometimes that just moves energy, right? That in itself, just to be truthful with yourself. Sometimes just to express it. Write it down in your journal and express it to a trusted friend. You know, that will move energy, just to be truthful and honest. This is about authenticity. This time that we're in, it's about authenticity. It's about being honest, right? And emotionally vulnerable. You know, you've got this turbulence in the second house. You know, I'm worried about money. How am I going to pay my bills? Let yourself just speak it and get it out. You know, that can just release this burden. But sometimes the ego wants, and not in a complaining victim way, Because that's what the ego wants. Well, I just want to complain and say that I'm a victim. But sometimes just to get it out, right? The ego doesn't want you to get it out. It wants you in that mental anxiety, right? Not being honest, not sharing, not bringing this out into the light, you know? Because when you do express, you'll find that, oh, other people will say, oh, I feel that too. I feel that way too. I've been worried too. But don't allow you both to fall into a victim. Oh, it's the government's fault and it's their fault. It's just to express it and get it out, right? That's the emotional vulnerability that this turbulence shadow wants you away from, like feeling overwhelmed by your emotions. And that's what this depression's about, you know? So that's what I see for Aquarius. And then we've already done Pisces. Yay. There we go. Let's see if any comments before we log off here. Yeah. Yes, depression's about the past and anxiety is about the future, right? Depression is about the past energy. So it's about letting go, right? Letting go of this world is gone, it's gone, doesn't exist anymore. We're not going to get it back. We need to grieve it. Jen Goodwin, I've been experiencing a lot of depression recently, but it's been about loss. Makes so much sense. I'm no longer afraid of it now that I know I can do the meditations. Had amazing breakthroughs. Yeah. It's really this time. It's really about embracing our emotions, you know? It's not going to work. The addictions won't work anymore. Our old ways of repressing emotions are not going to work anymore. Not with this Neptune going retrograde, you know? I know on GB it's been hard to embrace fun the past 2 years. But you know what? To have a good laugh is so healing. I was going through a point where I was really getting into the news and going down the rabbit hole. And I found that it affected my consciousness, you know, where everything became really, really serious. And that's not what life's about. And then I pulled back. Just pulled back, and it's like, okay, I'm going to be really conscious of when I go and tap into the news, right? Then, not that I don't want, because I like to know what they're up to, right? But it's like so refreshing. It's like, what's real? And this on the screen? No, what's real is like out the window, the trees, right? The wind, my dog Bougie, right? That's what's real, you know? And to laugh, and like I said, that's one of the best things you can do is laugh to clear the human field of consciousness, right? Yeah. It's hard as a content creator to share depression. Well, just to talk about it, right? It's good. I express it in my lyrics. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, just to get it out. Oh, you mean personally, like talking about your depression. For me, I don't like to talk about anything that hasn't been cooked. You know what I mean? That's kind of my rule for myself, is that I'll talk about when it's cooked, when I'm through it. Which it goes pretty quickly, right? When you really embrace it, when you really open up to it and embrace your emotions, they move very quickly, you know? Yeah, afraid to even make a joke. Well, they're canceling comedians, you know? That's the old... the trickster, right? The trickster, the joker. What'd you call them in the court, right? The king's court, right? The joker, the trickster, the fool, right? The king would specifically have the fool and the joker and the trickster in his court, right? Because it was when they got too serious. The king wanted somebody that's, okay, we're getting too serious, that the fool and the joker would come in and, like, you know, fart in the middle of the big meeting, like something like that, to bring that levity back. It's like, oh, we're taking ourselves way too seriously, right? We need the joker. Yeah. Yeah, this Neptune energy is going to be very, very interesting because the fog is lifting. And we'll see how people react to the fog lifting. Because Neptune's had us under the spell for so long, right? Okay. Court jester, that's right. Thank you, Jen. My mind's kind of going here. Okay. Well, it's time to get my dog to the park. He's wagging his tail down here. Yeah, so thank you everybody for attending the live stream and for this new moon. And I'm not sure when I'm going to see you next. Maybe Tuesday, we'll see. And so this time is just, I really feel it's like the emotions. It's about embracing your emotions, being authentic, right? That's been the message that's been coming through, is your authenticity. And letting go. It's all about letting go of who you think you are, letting go of how you think your life's going to go, and really trusting your intuition and your heart to guide you. You know, we can't be using this anymore. This is just going to get us into trouble, right? It's to really honor your intuition and your heart to guide you. Okay? So have a great day, evening, wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Sat Nam Aloha.